This one. Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett. I invite you to watch and listen to the Designing Hollywood podcast, brought to you by Martika Ibarra and the great, legendary Hollywood costume designer, Marilyn Vance. I am afforded the wonderful opportunity of co-hosting the show. If you are interested in the magic of Hollywood, the design of Hollywood, the clothes of Hollywood, watch the Designing Hollywood podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, or find the video version on YouTube. That's right, the Designing Hollywood podcast. Why would you ever want to miss it, especially if you love the movies?
There's a company called Hot Toys, and they make these insanely realistic, renderings of characters. They do them for all the Marvel characters or whatever, and they look so much like you. It's disturbing, actually. Like, scary. They look so much like you, but they're tiny. They're like 18 inches or something like that. They actually that's what's crazy about that company is they hand make they carve the mold. The mold of
That's crazy.
It's wild.
Robservations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, whatever you want to call me. Good, bad, indifferent. I'm just happy you call me anything. Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am here with Midnight Musings episode 6. And this is part 2 of our ongoing spoiler conversation about the Batman. And of course, we're going to continue on. We only finished half of your super chats last night. We're going to start with those. And I, of course, have my esteemed colleagues, people that maybe I'm perhaps not worthy to stream with, but they stream with me anyway. You know them. You love them. We have Lael Rockwell, the 1/6 scale man himself. And of course, the lovely, effervescent, and always mysterious How are the two of you this evening?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Great to be back for a second night in a row.
Lael, I don't think we can hear you.
You can't hear me? You still can't?
Oh, no,
hear
we
me?
can hear you. I think that it switched over to your other...
If it did it again, hold on. Let me
It's all right. You know what? We don't hold it against you. We're just happy.
No, it's here. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
It's
hear you,
still
but
a
it
little
still
low.
sounds like it's at the computer mic.
Hold on. We're going to...
I kind of like this. Yeah.
You know what? Modern technology,
That's
you
a
have-
different show tonight.
let me come back in.
You can come back in.
How's that sound?
Yeah, it
Much
sounds good.
better.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Feel the
Okay,
dulcet
good,
tones of
good,
that
good.
creamy voice of yours.
Good.
You know, it's like that
Good.
band Sexual Chocolate from Coming to America.
From you coming to America, you know what time. Hey, Rob, I got a surprise for you too.
You do?
I have a surprise for you. So this is a prototype, but this is a surprise for you, okay?
Okay. Oh, my God. Oh, that looks dirty. But it is a cocoa tulip, is it not?
Nice.
Dude, I will
it
wear
is
that proudly.
Yep, it's a cocoa tulip. This is actually just the proto. She got the prototypes in just yesterday, I believe. So more coming. So yes, one
I
will be
just
coming your way.
want you to know that from a distance, that looks like a place I wanted to put my tongue. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, if I'm walking down the, I don't mean anything by it. Just the first thing that popped into my mind. So, Lael, I have to ask you,
Yeah.
did you go back and see the Batman in IMAX today?
We just got back not too long ago from seeing it again today.
How did
So
the
I have a
experience
new
change for you?
the
Please
experience
tell us
it
that
was
the sound was better.
the sound was better. The sound was better. And the one thing that I have to say really, really quick off the top is what I did today was I viewed it from a totally different vantage point. And how I did that was I stripped away the comic book aspect of this film and looked at it as a true detective, grit, grimy crime film, sprinkled in with like the little sprinkles of, the graphic novel that we know that is, year one, year two. And from seeing it from that and then hearing it better, I was like, yeah, this is really a brilliant film. It's brilliant on so many different levels. It's brilliant because now it gives you a firm understanding of what ties both, not only just the Riddler and Bruce together, but the Riddler, Bruce, and Selena Kyle, because they all share similar backgrounds of being orphaned in a sense.
Right.
So when you look at it from that perspective, and just look at so many different aspects of how they're dealing with not only Bruce's his past, how his past has come back to haunt him, not particularly his fault, but
No,
just
not
his
at all.
past at all, that he's finding out about it, but just how that
And it's not
itself,
Catwoman's fault either. And it's not
either one
Riddler's
of them.
fault he was sent to, or he's
Yeah.
parentless.
Yeah, it's not. So it really, really, really isn't. But I think it was all around, like, it was a great film, bro. Like it was really done well. And it'd be interesting to see. And the thing is like I didn't. It was crazy, Rob, because I didn't get it until the second viewing what flashed across the screen, and they made it blatant, and he did it on purpose. When he flashed across the screen, hush. And I was like, okay, all right, I see what you did there. I see what
Yeah.
you did there. It may not even be the next film, but I noticed you're planting that seed. Hush. You just wanted to know that something like that is coming. So it'd be interesting.
Did you watch the film to the very end of the credits?
No, I didn't.
Okay, there's a computer screen that comes on at the end of the credits. It's like beep, beep,
Okay.
beep. And it has a green question mark with the arrows.
Yeah.
And then it does a quick flash.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the quick flash, it's got the computer readout. If you go click on the computer readout, it takes you to this screen that gives you the date of when Batman and Alfred and Riddler and Catwoman first appeared in the comics, and which comics they appeared in.
Yeah.
And I want to say that the last one that they teased, oh, now I forget what it is, was a villain they was not in the film. So as a matter of fact, somebody sent me a link, and I was going to get it before we went on tonight, which I didn't, but I will. So now, but here's the question, the first question I want to start asking the both of you, and it has to do with fandom in this movie. And
Yeah.
someone said that, wow, the movie's been open a few days now, and we've already had the initial great reactions. Then we've had the critical reviews. Then we've had the backlash. Then we've had the anti-backlash. And now we're having the division between people that love the movie and hate the movie. Typical fan reactions or something. I'm paraphrasing. But I mean, again, this film has become very divisive in terms of fan culture. Some people like it. Some people hate it. Some people say, oh, it's all these other movies put into a blender but not done as well. And there's people that love it and say it's the best Batman movie, the most. And I just want to get both of your takes on that. And I it's funny because I've never thought of the Batman movies as high art because, Tim Burton's Batman, if you go back and you watch it, people talk about how this movie's slow. I find Tim Burton's Batman to be, especially the last half an hour, to be excruciatingly slow. It wasn't at the time, but, and then we received Batman and Robin, which is just god awful. And as much as I actually have a soft spot for Nolan's Dark Knight Rises, but there's so
Yeah.
many problems with it from a logical standpoint. The cops are underground for 100 days.
Mhm.
They attack the stock market, and Bruce Wayne loses his wealth in an afternoon. They turn off his power. It's like,
Mhm.
come on, man, that you can stave off the power company for months. I've done it.
Mhm.
You know, so there's all kinds of logic problems in that film, but yet, and people, oh, it's not as good as The Dark Knight. And The Dark Knight's fantastic because you have a central performance that's so compelling of the Joker. You could take Batman out of The Dark Knight and you could just watch the Joker run around the criminal underworld of Gotham City and create chaos.
Yeah.
People would have loved that movie.
Yeah.
You know, so one of the things that I've seen the movie twice now. I feel that this is a meal. It's a full meal. It's you have an appetizer, you have a full course, multi-course meal, you have a little bit of a dessert, and I feel that as a film, I found this movie to be incredibly fulfilling as a movie, as a film noir, as a superhero film, and yeah, it draws upon a bunch of different things, but it does so by design. Like it's the allusions to other movies are very intentional, and what I don't like is when films feel haphazard, and I don't feel this film was haphazard at all. You might not have appreciated its approach, but
Yeah.
it truly was an auteurist vision. It was written and directed to be a specific kind of a movie. So I wanted to get your take on the fan response. Now we're in the midst of a backlash, and some people love it, some people hate it. So how do the both of you, I guess I'll start with you, have you been keeping up with the comments online? Because they've been wildly divergent, and I wanted to ask you, once again, how do you feel about the fan reaction and then your own reaction now that you've had time to marinate on this film?
Yeah, you make such a good point with this, and I have thought about this because, the whole idea of positive fandom, I think for all of us, is that we already know we're going to get differing opinions, and people are going to like or dislike different things, and we do want to hear people's opinions, even tonight. Even if if this is the worst film for you, that's okay. You want to share that opinion.
Yeah, this is a safe space to share. I mean, I say safe space. To me, a safe space is a place where you can share all ideas, no matter what they are, without fear of reprisal or backlash. Even if other people hate what you have to say, to me, a safe space is a place where you can be intellectually free.
And I think that we're going to see more of that with this film in particular, because, while I love this film and I think it's such an incredible film, I do realize that this film is not for everyone. The first thing I can say is that it's not for children. This is not a family-friendly film.
No.
And, some people may say, well, no, you can take your family. I don't think I would take any child under the age of like 12 to see this. And that's okay. You know what? That's all right that I feel that way. But, clearly this is an adult film with many adult themes in it, and that's all right. So you're immediately removing a good section of people who happen to be big Batman fans. I've seen infants in Batman costumes. These kids are cosplaying, sleeping in Batman pajamas. So, that whole group of fans, which there are many, Batman-themed birthday parties. This is not the film for them. So, you're kind of, those fans, I just wanted to say that we do realize this is a film for adults. The second thing is, for some people, they just didn't care for this film. And I think, there are many reasons why, but the main reason that I've heard reiterated is that it didn't have the fantasy or the superhero fantastic part of it. And that's okay.
That's a valid criticism.
Yeah, I understand how you feel. And, this is true. It's absolutely true. And I welcome that. I'm not saying there's anything incorrect about it. It's absolutely true. It doesn't have that in it.
No.
In fact, speaking to somebody on Friday, they told me that the film was incredibly real. And I've actually said a few times that I felt like this felt like a typical Friday or Saturday night in New York City for me. The way it looked. I'm sure they all can agree with me on this one. It really did kind of feel that way. It's like even the police precinct felt like it was something out of Barney Miller. I really kind of felt, it was
the
just
kids
so
at home are
realistic.
going, Barney Miller.
Well, that's because it had to be an older looking, well, it couldn't be state of the art. It had to be an older looking kind of grimy, kind of precinct. It wasn't going to be brand new. Nothing in here is going to be sparkly and shiny unless it was, in the club and, that sort of, and that's even just an illusion, isn't it? Yeah. So, in regards to, now here's the other point that I want to make. I have also spoken to a lot of members in the PGS about this and, whether they liked it or disliked it and why. Yep. And I certainly listen and I'm like, just tell me, what your thoughts are of it. And I think it's very cathartic to do that. We're here to discuss the enjoyment or the lack of enjoyment of this stuff as part of a community. So we want to hear each other's thoughts. And it would be unfair to kind of like pretend like I actually like to hear differing opinions too. So, as soon as someone says something different, I'm like, yes, it's like, yes, someone has a different opinion. And that's exciting to me. But most importantly, a good friend of mine said that at least he felt or was under the impression that, let's say if you're more of a normie for Batman, because I would consider myself a normie for Batman, versus you and Lael, who are not normies, like, you're hardcore comics, guys. That a hardcore comics person may not like this film versus a normie like myself who would like it. Now, I have to be honest with you. What I've been seeing is that normies and comic fans are liking and disliking in equal measure.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with you.
Yes. I think it's very interesting. I don't think there are very many Batman films that I disliked. There might be very specific things that I think don't make any sense or didn't, shock me or impress me. But, I was so impressed with this film. I was so impressed with so many elements of the film, from the score to the cinematography, to the acting, to the fighting scenes, to the story in general, to some of the extra stuff they added in there. We know something, we didn't even need the half of the story that was in there, but they threw in a bunch of stuff for us.
Yeah.
It was jam-packed with a lot of stuff. And I think that the effort alone, just to organize all this stuff together, to make it a watchable film, must have taken a considerable amount of energy and concentration just to get this pushed through. Even I'm always talking about intimacy and the points where we see intimacy between people. And, someone today was saying that the Batman character, he didn't have as much speaking as he would have liked to have seen Batman speak. And I said, well, yeah, maybe that's true. But did Patterson convince us in the Batman suit that he was Batman? Yes, I think he did. And even if he wasn't speaking, in some of the scenes where he's not talking, he's acting. So, that was the challenge for him. How was he going to convey that without us seeing his beautiful face? How do you convey all of these things? Because in the funeral scene, we certainly did get an impression of what he was like there.
And that was the only time we got a sense of him without any... he was dressed for an event.
Yes, and when he went to the club, so maybe there was maybe 2 times where he went in kind of without his gear on.
But when he went to the club, he was distraught. He
was.
And when he went to the funeral, he was dressed up. He was like, okay, I'm here for this event. I'm here to pay respects. But when he went to the club, it was like he was reeling from the revelation of what happened. His mother was an by the way, I love the idea that the Arkhams were as much a part of Gotham City as the Waynes.
Yes.
And I don't know if that is from... I want to go back because, I have a ton of... I've read thousands of Batman comics. I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
I haven't heard it before. And the other thing that I was going to say is a lot of fans have said that they like the idea that Batman was actually solving a mystery. Looking at, let's say in previous, perhaps in the cartoons, or animated features, he may have been doing more stuff like this, or even in the video games. But in live action, perhaps this is the first time we saw it. Last night we spoke and we said this was the first time we saw him dose. I didn't even understand what was going on in that scene. I had to kind of look to the guy next to me. He's like, oh, it's like an adrenaline shot. I'm like, oh, thank you.
It was the same adrenaline shot that Bane uses.
Yep.
Yeah, even
that's why it was green.
Seeing stuff like this, we knew it kind of makes sense that they would have had to innovate this film to take it in a different direction from what we've seen already. And there's a million ways they could go with Batman and still have success. And so for me, it was a success for so many reasons, some of which I just mentioned. But but for even additional reasons, just pure entertainment. I'm like, I want to get a Catwoman suit. Like normally that's not something I'd want to do, but I'm like, yeah, maybe I should get a Catwoman suit and cosplay. You know, this is if a film convinces you to do something like that, I think that, you know, it's actually, you know, done its purpose. It's entertained me. I want to see more of this dark world, and I want to dress up like Catwoman. Oh, wait a minute. I must have really enjoyed this. So does it mean that men who, and I'm sorry, just my last point, does it mean that people who didn't care for it are going to stop buying Batman stuff? No, it doesn't. Because there's so much Batman lore out there that they're still going to be faithful to Batman. This isn't really, I think, an issue, because there's so many great stories of Batman that have yet to be even put into a medium that we can see it. But that's how I've been handling it. And like, for example, tomorrow morning when I have my Sunday brunch, it's going to be at 11:30. I welcome everybody to just come and just express your feelings and talk about what you liked, what you didn't like, what you would have liked to see, what you think is going to happen in the next one. This is why we're here.
Where can people do that? Plug your show.
On Positive Fandom tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. We're going to be doing our Sunday brunch show. And
Hang on now. Positive Fandom is your YouTube channel.
Yes, it is.
Like and subscribe to Positive Fandom. Now, what show is it?
It's called Sunday Brunch, and it's at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. And we're going to be doing exactly what we're doing here, just continuing to talk and have everybody talk about what they loved, what they didn't love, different things they would have changed, what they wanted to see more of, some things that I didn't notice. There's always something you don't notice. And Lael, I kind of envy you because you went and saw the film again. I would have liked to have seen that film. I wanted to see it again, like after I saw it, but I couldn't. But when you go to a film and you want to see it again after you've seen it, that's when you know that you've enjoyed that film. It was different. It certainly wasn't ordinary or boring for me. And I still feel like the length was fine. If it was 5 hours, I would have sat through that whole thing. So the way I handle this idea of everybody having different opinions is just staying on the positive side and accepting, you know, people's feelings about how they feel about the fandom. And people have been respectful about it, and we can still enjoy it, even if we have these differing opinions and reasons why we may like or dislike something. So it's all good. It's all good.
I agree. Philosopher King does point out, and I don't know why I didn't know this, that Martha as an Arkham is from the comics, which I don't know. Now, Lael, I would ask you, now that you've seen it twice, you've seen it. I mean, I always liked the idea of seeing films from different perspectives. Now, did you take the lovely LaToya with you?
Yeah, we both seen it twice.
You both seen it twice. Now, I would ask you first, how did this second viewing, how did it resonate with her?
Well, she, like I said, I mean, being in a more pleasant environment where the sound was good, the you know, screen quality was good, you know, everybody was engaged. The viewing on this one was excellent. You know, and it put it this way, it changed my perspective in a different way. Again, like we talked about, for me, it was stripping away the comic book aspect of the film and viewing it from a gritty detective, you know, crime thriller type of film. And I got that. We knew that's what we were getting going into it. One thing I will say, and I want to say, is that it's not, put it this way, if you're a comic book enthusiast, if you've read comics all your life, you know that over the years, different comics that you've actually read have had different iterations, like different writers, different artists. Everybody has actually come in and they've written books and written stories, especially Batman has been, he went from a mild-mannered, normal individual, you know, who was just out for vengeance, or basically started out as a detective, went to a vengeance spurt, back to a detective, and then he became a god. So this is what I'm saying. Like, there have been different iterations of Batman.
And he was a goof too.
Exactly.
He was a goof in the 60s, and you know.
Exactly. So when we look at that, so that's why I'm saying there's a ton of different iterations. It's not fair for you to go into this particular film. I'm not going to say not fair, but I don't think it's smart to go into this film and already have this, you know, you're already ready to compare it to a film and you haven't really seen it yet. So automatically you're checking off boxes. Oh, it's not like this. We didn't see this. I didn't feel this way. I didn't feel that way. This is Matt Reeves' interpretation, his vision, his artistic vision of this film. So it's not really, you know, I don't think it's fair, you know, to look at it from that aspect. You have to go into it with a totally different clean slate. Don't even go back and watch the Nolan's trilogy this week, or if you haven't seen it, just clear that slate, go into this particular film and just watch it with just brand new eyes, and you'll see something. What I loved about his approach in this particular film was the simple fact that he made it believable for me and you out there that something like this could take place, and it could be happening right now, right under our noses, and we have no idea. It was crazy because
it is happening.
Real quick, it was crazy because last night, I woke up this morning, right? To, you know, again, I'm not glorifying this because it's terrible news. Right around the corner, the movie theater that we actually go to, there was a shooting. A young man was basically shot at 4 a.m. a block away from the movie theater that we normally go to. So I'm thinking about that, and when I went into this film, I'm like, you know what? If you think about that, it's realism. Like if you compare the two,
that was Martha and Thomas Wayne.
Exactly. These things basically happen, and it is believable because it can happen. We do have crooked municipality. We see that. And people who live in New York, you know that.
Yes.
This happens, plain and simple. We see this on a daily basis. There is an underworld, a complete underworld. There's homelessness, there's grit. We see that. We see that every day. And actually, if you live in New York and if you live on 48th and 8th, you're bound to see Batman walk around the city. Plain and simple. Like literally. You're going to see that, and he'll probably ask you for a picture and a tip afterwards. That's just how it is. Like seriously. But my point is,
same on Hollywood Boulevard,
right? So you'll basically see that. My point is, you have to go into it understanding that this man has a vision. It is his vision, and it was excellent. Like, listen, the acting across the board, the board was phenomenal. There was not one weak link that I felt in this film. And everybody played off of each other so well. Somebody else pointed out to me that a critic, I don't know who it was, but said that she didn't feel that there was chemistry between Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz.
Come
like,
on.
Excuse my, pardon my French, but what the fuck were you watching? Because I'm basically seeing,
or who have you ever had chemistry with?
Yeah,
lady?
like who have you had chemistry with? Because the chemistry was strong, and you can even see it. Even at the end of the film, you can tell that Bruce did not want her to leave. He didn't, but he knew he had a responsibility in Gotham.
He never kissed her first.
No,
it was very intentional that she kissed him, but there was one moment where he was leaning into her and he wanted to do it, but he's so damaged. He's so damaged. He doesn't have like what I loved about this film is he's so untethered from the rest of humanity. Like I said, and I read it in review too, that he's an alien. He is someone that is untethered from his own humanity. And this is a different Bruce Wayne. And if anything, the great thing about Zoe Kravitz is she is everything that is human. She has you know, she has a connection to cats. She has a connection to strays. She lives life. I mean, and let's face it, she has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and one of the things that no one has mentioned is Catwoman is unapologetically bisexual.
Yeah.
And she is bisexual because she loves people or whatever. Yeah. You know, and her vengeance is for her girlfriend that was fucking straight up murdered. Yeah. But she also is attracted to, and I watch a lot of people talked about about the race of these films. I'm like, has anyone lived in a city? Yeah. I'm like, if you live in a city, brah, if you live in a city like New York or Los Angeles or Chicago or Miami, dollars to donuts, you've dated someone who's multiracial.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's one of the things that I like about Matt Reeves' approach. It was intentional, but it wasn't blatant.
No, but it was also realistic. It wasn't in your face,
and it was realistic.
That's what happens when you live in a city.
Exactly.
And by the way, for those of you who want to know, let me just say, people who are of mixed race descent, it's always better to date them from certain points of view. Let me just tell you, they're more fun than the people you've been dating. Just saying. And because they have better perspective. And it's like, I mean, Zoe Kravitz exuded sexuality. Like the thing about Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns was sexy, but it was fake. You know, it was like the but Zoe Kravitz, I mean, my God, when she put on her cat suit, She, I don't think I've ever seen the last time I saw a woman who was sexier than her. Those shots of the camera in front of her when she would just walk into the camera. Oh my God. She might as well have had steam coming off of her feet because she was that sexy. Now, I understand people are attracted to all different kinds of things, but that camera, I mean, her smoldering sexuality, and they didn't really get into it, but you know, there's a comment in the movie. She makes a comment about how men look at her. I forget what the actual comment is. There's a lot of real interesting sophistication going on in this movie about it's very mature about how people, like, they didn't come out and go, oh, you men, you're the male gaze.
Yeah.
But she commented on it. She's like, look, I work in an environment where I rely on the male gaze so I can exploit it.
Yeah.
You know, and use it.
Yeah.
And she knows what's up. And you know what? If you don't, we now live in a society. Wait, hang on. Let me get my, where is it? Here it is. Here's my Doomsday Reveler, my Zack Snyder Justice League Joker. Should I take it out? But, I mean, we live in a society where we want to, we are now denying human nature. We're like pretending that, like, no, you have to be perfect. We have to have social justice, and everybody will be perfect at the same time. And but Zoe Kravitz is like, no, I'm going to use what I have to disarm men and get them to give me tips and get them and promise them when she sits down with Peter Skarsgård, she knows what she's doing. She's getting information. She's using him, and he's dropped out. He's a drop addict, so he's there. He's on drugs, and she's like, I can get whatever you need out of him. Let's you know. And the film is very sophisticated in that way.
And that's what I love. What I loved about it is the simple fact that even though we know that Zoe Kravitz is extremely sexy, she's a beautiful young lady. I mean, she's going to go. We know that, and when we look at the film, but it wasn't over sexualized without showing a level of strength, and also,
not at all. And on top of that, men feared her. Like, literally, you could tell when no matter if they attacked, she actually alluded that level of strength that you knew that, okay, she's not to be fucked with. Like, literally, she's not. And she has a purpose, and I love the way and I love the simple fact that my favorite part of it was when you thought that literally, you know, Batman. I mean, you knew that he wasn't gonna get shot in the face. He was gonna get help. You know, knowing the film, something was gonna intervene. But her just coming out through the scalpel and just saving his life at that particular point. I love that scene because you knew that regardless. Like, I love that. And one other scene I want to point out really quick while I'm thinking about it. What I loved about this one particular scene. It was when he, you know, again, he decided that, number one, he had to save that group of individuals, you know, from getting electrocuted. So he sliced the wire. He falls in the water. He gets out, but he goes in to save. He reaches out his hand. No one everybody was staring at him. They were looking at him just like they didn't know whether or not they could trust him. But the kid, recognizing him, reached out his hand. He pulled the kid out. And then once again, he reaches his hand again to let you know what, now do you trust me? And then they all and then this the most beautiful shot of the entire film to me. The overhead shot when he was holding that, and they were all coming together, following him, bro. Dude, he's Moses. He's Moses leading the Israelites out of the desert.
Bro, if I can actually get a painting or if I can even get that print just of that scene, a huge print. Bro, that was phenomenal. I love that. I
have to tell you. Oh, go ahead. Oh,
and that's it. I just want to add to what Lael was saying. In addition to that, Lael, once the Batman showed everybody and they trusted him, then you saw other people following his example too.
Yeah.
They went to the crowd and started helping people out, and they didn't hesitate now because they had seen the example that he set, and it was a chain reation of people helping one another. And that's the only way that you can really survive in Gotham is by having the support of the people around you.
Loved it.
You cannot be a solo person. And I think that that's the point where Batman realized, I'm not in this alone. You know, I'm not in this alone.
I am so happy you said that, because that's the whole point of Act 3.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Act 3 is a different movie. No. Act 3 was the point where it teaches Batman that he isn't alone.
He isn't by
His
himself.
whole change, I mean, the idea that he wanted vengeance and then he changes for justice. I mean, the funny thing is, the kid has seen him multiple times. Saw him when he was being questioned by the cops at the beginning. He saw him at the funeral when Batman saved his life. The kid is the only person that trusts Batman in 100%.
Yeah.
And even the mayor who's been shot will not reach out to the Batman.
Exactly.
And Batman's like, he's offering her the help first,
Right.
and she won't take it. And
But
it's
the kid's like, I trust him.
And
That was my favorite scene.
Dude.
To see that hand reach out and then he pulls the kid and he's like, okay, now do you trust me? And it was phenomenal.
I got emotional at that part.
Yeah.
I got
really
so, dude, the first time I saw it, I got so emotional. And what was so interesting, to me, like that's what I'm saying. I knew what you were talking about. The overhead shot
why?
when the people flow in. I mean,
Yes.
And what I thought was really interesting is, when a filmmaker is evoking like biblical elements, it can be really pretentious. It can get really annoying and stupid very quickly, but it was all earned. It was all earned, and the idea that and Batman himself, it's so funny to me because when I see films or I watch, say, Star Trek or whatever, I don't like things that are dumb. Where there's not a lot of and even if I don't agree with something, if I can tell that there was thought put into it, like this was a specific point of view. Matt Reeves was trying to do certain things, and I feel he succeeded in doing them. He succeeded in making the film he wanted to make, that he co-wrote and directed. So I feel at the end of the day, I got a full meal. Now you might not agree with the spices that the chef used, but this was a meal that was pondered about, it was contemplated, it was written, it was created, it was directed, it was realized the way the chef wanted it to be realized. You might not like what it was, but we got a full meal that had authorship behind it.
And can I say one thing real quick?
Yes, you can.
Go ahead, man.
One thing real quick. If y'all do not realize this man is brilliant on so many different levels. Colin Farrell has range that is unimaginable, bro. Like, if you wouldn't have told anybody, if no one knew that was who he was, that it was Colin, you wouldn't have believed it. You would have been like, that's not him. No, it's not. No, it's not. If they didn't even mention, if he was just like a surprise and he was never mentioned until we saw the credits, you'd have been like, get out of here. No, that's his range.
With that
his
accent,
range. Yes, his range. He is such a brilliant actor, bro. And in that overhead shot behind him, knowing that, okay, now that Falcone is out the way, now that everything is out the way, it's like him saying, oh, yeah, this city's mine.
And he wasn't a caricature.
No. That
No,
scene
not
when
at
Gordon
all.
and him have him up against the wall, like, leave me here.
Yeah, that was the best. That was the best.
He's like, well, he said, you guys know I'm still here, right? And then they were driving off, like, yo, our clips that scene was so. It was like, yeah, but it was brilliant. It was so. And the thing is, the scene when Falcone were taking him outside, and he was like, yo, do you not know I own you, cops? And then the door opens. And then, you hear Gordon's like, I guess you don't own all of us. And to see all those cops, I think that was a moment even, Wayne, Bruce Wayne's looking at it like, wait a minute. Okay, maybe there's a level of trust that I can have for at least some of them. Not saying that he all the way trusts them all, but at least he knows there are some good cops out there.
Yeah, man.
And I think that was setting in.
And that was, dude, you're absolutely right about all that because but people don't understand is we've watched Batman movies. The Christian Bale Batman movies went from when he started being Batman, even though you can't really tell much time until he's like the fully realized Batman. He's driving around in his Lambos and he's wearing the suits and all that. This is a young Batman who he's figuring it out where he is. Like he's like a junior in college. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what my major is. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I was about to say,
Yeah.
let's
I
pick a
wanted to
major
do
yet.
drama, but now I'm going to do poli-sci. I don't
Yeah,
know, you
okay,
know.
that's the last resort. We all
Yeah,
know that.
I mean, he doesn't know what he is. Like he just and the funny thing is, you know, people have been talking about the fact that in the movie, the voiceover December 31st or
Yeah.
October 31st, you know, and he wonders like, and by the end of the film, the question that he asks at the beginning of the movie is, am I making a difference? Am I doing anything? Does this city
Yeah.
care?
Yeah.
Does this city need me? And
And
the
it was
end of the
answered.
movie, it answered it.
It answered.
Right.
Real quick, because I know, what is this? Is this Yuchia Gishi? Is that
Yes.
what it is?
Mhm.
Yuchia, I'm right there
Uh-huh.
with you. That hospital scene with Alfred, yo,
Oh,
I
dude.
didn't hear everything, mind you, because I was in a fucked up theater the other day. But today I heard everything, and the emotions were the emotional beats in that one scene. You know, Alfred even telling him you needed
Your
a father
father was a
figure,
good
and
man.
he was a good man. You needed a father figure, and all you had was me, bro. That broke me, bro.
And
It
we had to
did, like,
see
literally.
a point where
Yeah.
he questions him, because this was also one of those realistic moments that you might have with a father or with an uncle or a
Yeah.
person in the family, and say, you know what they told me you did?
Yeah.
They told me you screwed over so and so, and
Yeah.
you know, I want to know, is it true? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on with that?
Yeah.
And you know, of course, your relatives are like, that's not how it went down, and this is
Yeah.
realistic. You know, he
Yeah.
has to figure out how he's going to deal with getting news where people are going to be telling him stuff that isn't entirely true. And there is no 100% black and white moment. There are gray
Yeah.
areas here, but it
Yeah.
was a very important scene for him to see, and to see how important that relationship that he has with Alfred, which is his surrogate father now. But I really like that they showed the realism of him doubting the person who he has the greatest deal of intimacy with, and the
Yeah.
person who knows him better than anyone else on earth
Oh,
is
Yeah.
this person. So,
Yeah.
you know, thank God he went to him directly and confronted him about this, because sometimes people don't do that. They hold on to it and they don't say shit, you know, and it
Yeah.
can be years and years and years, and you're holding this grudge against somebody for something that may not even be true. But
Yeah.
Robert, we're almost an hour into
I know.
the show.
We
Do
so
we have some super chats from yesterday that
yeah.
you
So
wanna
anyone who
address?
watched his show yesterday know that we stopped. We went for 3 hours and we didn't even
We
get through half the
did.
super chats. So I'm gonna start with yesterday's super chats. John Val says,
John.
"The more I think about it, the more I like it. I love
Mhm.
how it went full on noir and wasn't just a straight up action movie."
Yeah.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love that. I love the simple fact, and that's, you know what, and this is why I hope that, and I wanted to say this yesterday. I hope we get I hope that Matt Reeves gives us a full black and gray edit, like an all black and
Oh,
gray edit of
yes.
this
You
film.
mean
Yes.
like George Miller did with Mad Max Fury Road?
Yes, give me that.
Yes.
Give me an all black and gray edit of this film, and I would eat it all up, because that's
And-
what it. I would eat it up, because you know what was crazy though, tonight when I was watching it.
Mhm.
I was imagining, because I knew we were going to be on this show tonight, I was imagining you as the back of you doing the monologues in the entire film.
Me doing
I was
the
imagining,
monologues.
yeah, just you doing the monologues in the background. I was laughing my ass off, but I was like, yo, that would be interesting. But yes, if they gave us a black and gray version of this, it'd be incredible. I'd suck it all up.
Lael, I
It's
want to
raining
ask you.
tonight.
I want to ask you what you thought about the noir elements of the sound in
Mhm.
this particular film.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this the noir sound, or the sounds that you got, even like there were certain scenes, like, all right, for instance, when they went to go visit the orphanage, like the old orphan, and basically when they walked in, you saw that the shadow of someone running across the screen. That, like, if you can, I say, like, just the score.
Say whatever you want.
Yes, please. That's
score-
what I'm asking you about. Yes,
The
please.
score, it complemented this film so much. Now, this is what I will say. There were times, though, even with me being in a better theater, there were times that you can tell that the dialogue was fighting against the score, because they were whispering slightly in the very beginning, that they were whispering when they actually went in And I was wondering, and I was like, well, why did he make that choice? And then I was like, okay, well, maybe it's because during the conversation, there are certain things that they didn't want everybody else in the room to hear. And it was whispers for us to know, okay, he was giving us the impression that, okay, this is a silent conversation between Gordon, Batman, and the other a cop that was actually there, or the forensic investigator that was there at that time. Like, it was a private conversation between them, because at that time, you also have to think that Gordon, knowing this, knows that he even doesn't trust some of the police officers that were in that room. So it was a private conversation between Batman and Gordon, you know. So I was like, okay, now I get it. But at times it felt like the dialogue was fighting against the score. But besides that, the score complemented this movie the whole way
And
through.
the score, my God, how great. It's such a different score. I love this score so much. And Catwoman's jazzy theme is so sexy and so mournful.
Yes.
Okay, so Darth Plato sends in a tip. Okay, this is a deep cut. Are we talking about the same Captain Picard that declined to sleep with the devil, a.k.a. Princess Koji from Tales of the Gold Monkey? Okay, Darth Plato, this is a deep cut from Star Trek The Next Generation. You're referring to the episode Devil's Due that starred Marta Dubois, who was also in Tales from the Gold Monkey. And Devil's Due was a fourth season Next Generation episode that was actually a reuse of the unmade Star Trek Phase 2 television series. It was a script written for that series. Why you brought that up in this conversation, I don't know, but I love you for it, Darth Plato.
I know why he brought it up, because yesterday I was saying how upset I was that in season 2, episode 1 of Picard, Lael and Robert, that they made me watch this incredibly attractive Romulan woman who's incredibly sexual, beautiful, pretty much hitting on Picard for almost 10 minutes, and he rejects her. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. So she doesn't get her moment with this robot. She doesn't get to have sex with him as a robot. So as a robot, even, he's rejecting this woman. I don't think so. I think he would have done what he needed to do with her, and it would have been a beautiful moment in this, and we would have been like, wow, he just slept with this woman.
No, my objection to modern Star Trek is everyone who's writing modern Star Trek does not know what a human being does, acts like, or there's no. They've made up all of these character traits based on ridiculous bullshit, and everyone's like, "Well, I really liked the start of Picard season 2, episode 1." Well, yeah, because everyone loves a greatest hits record, and that's what we got. We got all. The only thing I liked about that episode was the conversation between Laris and Picard. That Romulan woman, and at the end of the day, if I had made it, he would have fucked her.
Thank you.
You know,
and what's so ironic is that John, the character Patrick Stewart, I mean, the individual who plays the role, is in his 70s, almost 80 years old, and he's married to a woman who I think is in her 30s.
Yeah,
and they have 40, a kid.
40s. Yeah.
Right. Well, when they first got married, let's say 6.
And Romulans are they age differently, and you know what? You know what's really interesting? My God. Star Trek has been completely infantilized to pander to the unself-actualized fan community. I mean, the fact is, Picard, that should have been a scene where they did make love, and they did spend the night together. And what should have happened?
Drinking the Picard Reserve.
And what should have happened is that Laris realized that Picard couldn't give her what she wanted. Even after spending the night, they both enjoyed each other. They were both adults and all that, but Picard was still. And by the way, I made a joke about K-Tel, America Rock, Freedom Rock. Is that Freedom Rock, man? We'll turn it up, man. I mean, it was. I was watching a greatest hits. It's like, oh, look, there's the Borg Queen. There's Q. There's time displacement and a fascistic. It was just like what I missed. I thought with that scene with Laris, I'm like, oh, we're going to get a real Star Trek show. Oh, no, we're just going to get some pandering fanboy remix bullshit where we're going to do the easiest stuff. Let's not tell a real human story, which is what Star Trek used to do. Now, Star Trek is only telling stories about other Star Trek episodes. It's so far up its own navel-gazing ass. Those writers what should we do?
And everything's an anomaly. Everything's an anomaly.
Everything. Those writers do not know how to write Star Trek. It is, and I look, I want to fucking scoop my eyeballs out with a teaspoon. The people that are writing Star Trek are actually hurting Western civilization because they are vandalizing storytelling. Sorry.
The other thing that I didn't like about it, gentlemen, is that, Jean-Luc is an older man. And, in real life, Patrick Stewart can perform clearly. Not only is he a viral person, but
he's a cunning linguist.
He is, but he's also very vivacious. Like he has parties and entertains people. Yep. He's a spectacular person. And I think that this is like almost a form of ageism against, older men who, like Michael Keaton has kind of opened up my eyes at 70. There he is seducing Maggie Q in The Protege.
By the way,
I
have to ass in The Protege.
I'm sorry?
His action scenes, he kicked ass in The
Yes,
Protege.
he did. But now I have to reevaluate my parameters here because I didn't know men who were in that age category could do stuff like that. So now I have to reset the barriers here in my mind of what older men can do. But I kind of felt it was a disservice to Picard because, like you said, Robert, even if they had made love and then she says, this is really not for me, at least we would have seen something that was realistic because that's what would have happened.
I don't think she would have said, you can't give me what I want, Right. But even so, the writing on Star Trek Picard should be the most sophisticated writing in TV. The same way that we get, whether it's Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad, we are getting modern Star Trek is written by the most pedestrian writers in all of television, and it is really frustrating. Star Trek should have Tiffany writers. Every script should come in a powder blue box with a white ribbon around it. For those of you who even know what Tiffany is, but it should, and everyone's asking me because I haven't reviewed Picard, and I watch it and I'm like, all anybody is getting is it's Q, it's Guinan, it's an alternate timeline, it's the Borg Queen, I'm like, where's the story? The story, you are getting nothing that you haven't heard 1,000 times before. The comic books, the novels, the shows. Give me something new. That Laris scene with Picard was actually really good. And I wanted it to go somewhere. Yeah. And then it didn't. And I'm
that was very disappointing.
I have to say, that's when I tuned out. I'm like, fuck all this. Like, oh, look, it's a fascist future and Picard's. And by the way, because every character in Star Trek, Lieutenant Uhura now has a tragic backstory. Let's make sure Picard's father was an abusive father to his mother. Are you kidding me? For real? For real? I mean, every character. You know what's really interesting? I mean, I'm sorry. I am really tired of everyone writing their own backstories into our Star Trek characters. I understand you might not have liked your parents, but give me a fucking break. We actually have seen Picard's mother. You defiled a character. Defiled them. But anyway.
And the woman who plays that Romulan is so beautiful. Oh. I mean, she was stunning. And I don't necessarily want to say her age, but let's just say she's a mature woman and was absolutely gorgeous. I was like, wow, she looks good. You know?
By the way, I just want to say, I was telling you earlier, I was 22. I had a 30-year-old girlfriend. I learned things that have served me well later in life. Just saying. To paraphrase a great philosopher, age matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my age, do you? And well, you should not. Because my ally is experience. And experience, don't you ever underestimate experience. I don't know who I was doing, but there you go. So our friend Claudius Boa, you know what? I know this. I should. Claudius is a very smart guy. Sometimes he throws things at me. I don't know. Boa, Noit, Rob, Note. Is that French?
Bon nuit.
Bon nuit. That's what it is. It's bon nuit.
Yeah.
Bon nuit. I'm sorry, I don't know. Claude, come on now.
Okay.
Okay, bon nuit. Rob and Lael. Speaking of auteurs, what happened to the Noah Hawley Star Trek? I didn't see Fargo, but I loved Legion. How about Noah Hawley doing Hickman's Dawn of X? Okay, first of all, bro, I loved what Jonathan Hickman did with the X-Men was so fucking bonkers. I loved all of it. They'd never let him do it. But Noah Hawley is now doing, well, he was doing an Alien TV series, but Fate Alvarez, who did Evil Dead's now doing an Alien movie. So his Star Trek was killed for whatever reason. So it's a bummer. Lael, did you read Hickman's Power of X or Dawn of X?
I've read them all, bro. I have them all.
Did you like him?
But I love them. I love Jonathan Hickman's run. Even I'm saddened though because
crazy.
It is.
And I loved it.
It was nuts. I'm just sad. Well, I'm not. You know what? I'm sad, but I'm comfortable with the simple fact that, like I said, he ended his run, and he's basically moved on to something else.
A lot of people hated what he did.
I love what he did. Bro.
I love
it because we needed something different, and I loved it. And on top of that, what he did was he was like, okay, everybody's tired of the fake death aspect of these characters. I'm going to tell you why. I'm just going to throw it in your face and make you even more upset at the simple fact that every time they die, they come back, but with a twist. With a twist. I mean, so
talk about science fiction.
Yeah,
I mean, Hickman, that first run, I mean, it was incredible.
He killed it. Yeah.
And people are like, well, Wolverine and Cyclops are sharing Jean Grey or whatever. I'm like, fucking there for that shit. It was all crazy.
It was crazy. It was nuts.
I
definitely loved it.
So Claudius, yes, I look, if someone said to me, Rob, if you could produce a X-Men TV series, what would you do? I'd say House of X, Powers of 10, whatever. Yes, I would do it. Do it.
Yes.
Adam Leaderway sends in a super chat and says, "Let the drunk murderer girl perform the analysis." Well, is that from? Did somebody say that? Hang on, I'm gonna find out where that's from, Adam. You know why? Because I'm going to use it. Doesn't. I mean, everyone asks me to ask to know everything all the time, and I never can. So what I use is this newfangled thing called the contraption, the internet. Wow, is that the Woman in the Window movie? I don't even know what that is.
The Woman Across the Street thing.
Oh, is that what that is?
It is the Woman in the Window across the street.
So it's my girl. It's Veronica Mars who said it. I like that. By the way, that show is great.
I haven't watched
It's really good. It's really good. Claudius.
Another super chat. How much is the super chat, Robert?
It's just $3. Claudius has supported this channel. He's a god amongst lesser mortals. Candida, his wife, is like Aphrodite, and their son Spencer, he is like Nightwing. And
she has a beautiful red hair, right?
No, dark hair.
Oh, she has dark hair. Okay.
She has dark hair. Well, she colored her hair recently, I think, but she's from Portugal, and girls from Portugal are, I'm sorry, they get a pass from me no matter what. Claudia says The Batman. A great movie. I feel the Reeves grounded Gotham needs to remain separated from the fantasy of the rest of the DCEU, and I feel there's a multiversal room for simultaneous iterations of Batman, including Keaton and the Hope Beyond Hope Affleck. Well, we get Affleck and Keaton in The Flash. I mean, look, I agree. The funny thing about this whole multiversal thing,
I agree with everything he just now said.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, the funny thing is, don't you guys think that, like, as a comic book reader, all the Elseworlds tales, whether the Dark Knight Returns was an Elseworlds tale. You know, Gotham by Gaslight. I mean, it was all of that stuff was. It was a Flashpoint. It's all crazy. And I always thought, as a comic book reader, I guess, having read comic books, I mean, I literally bought comic books on a weekly basis for 30 years, as evidenced by the long boxes I now have to move. For 30 years, and I love so you know, getting caught up in whatever continuity. I wouldn't be like, well, I didn't like Superman Red Sun because Superman landed in the Soviet Union and not Kansas. I'm like, no, that was cool, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know Superman is an alien, but I keep forgetting he's an alien.
Yeah, he looks.
You know what I mean?
Because he looks human to you, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I've been watching. Well, it's not Superman. I guess it's Superboy, but I still like. He looks human to me, but he's not.
Yeah,
he's not.
Well, by the way, if you didn't notice, look at this 6-scale 2-pack that Lael told me about last night. Wow, that's what I'm talking about. Oh my God, I need that so bad. I didn't know. Wow. By the way, thank you, Lael. I dreamt about it last night.
Yeah. You're welcome. I knew you would.
Dude,
I
can't. People are like, Rob, how did you not know that? I'm like, bro. I mean, sometimes
sent
I'm
out
not
an
on the
email,
internet
Robert.
every single day. I didn't know Hot Toys
Well, they
is
sent
putting
out
out
an
a new
email
Harley
about
Quinn
it.
figure. You know.
Yeah, they sent out an email about it, Robert.
Well,
Yeah.
I get 10,000 emails from Toys Wonderland every day.
That is true.
And then I get more emails about people like, Rob, did you know Justin's a shill for Toys Wonderland? I'm like,
No,
guys,
it's not.
guys, I love Justin, and it says on the Toys Wonderland site, in conjunction with Justin's collection. I mean, come on.
You know what? Let me say this tonight, because you know there's some interesting rhetoric going on right now. I talked to Justin about it. We'll talk to him tomorrow. But Justin, bro, I got your back, man. Like I literally got your back, bro. We bros. I got your back. A lot of stuff, like, people have to understand that Justin is not Toys Wonderland. He's not. He's not Toys Wonderland. You know what I mean? He's in conjunction with the company. He has an agreement with the company, but he's not Toys Wonderland. So you have to separate the two. Any grievances you have with that company should not be directed at one person.
And by the way,
he's a nice person.
can I just say, I love Justin Kane, and I will throw everything I have behind his channel, and I stream with him. He gets all of my love and affection, and he's a guy. Let me tell you something. Do you know what Justin loves? 6-scale action figures and statues and characters. He cosplays. He loves his wife. I mean, he's a genuine guy. And what's so weird is that someone's like, that Justin Kane, he's nefarious. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
All he cares about is action figures, putting in his module cases and making them look good.
He
like,
also loves Baby Yoda.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And the I don't know what happened in the last couple of this week, but give me a
Bro.
fucking break. You think I'm gonna Justin Kane was a hero in my house for years with me and my girlfriend Elizabeth before I even knew him. We love Justin, and it's so. I've been reading, some people have been sending me all kinds of shit. And I'm like, you should know this about Justin. I'm like, wait, what should I know about Justin? That he and Toys Wonderland have a partnership that is disclosed on their web page. Like there's nothing that's hidden. You know, and if Justin Kane were to get everything no one's sending him statues for free.
No, and he doesn't keep every statue he reviews either.
No, I mean, I just like, I don't understand, dude. Kids, I know. Let me just, as an adult, and I'm an old man with one foot in the grave. Let me tell you what business is all about. Business is about getting paid. However, like, it's great to work in a business that you're a fan of. Like, if a toy company was paying me money, I would still then use the money they're paying me to buy other toys that other company didn't make. Justin is not a shill. You can't buy his affection. And I think his reviews prove that. It's like, if he doesn't like something, he'll tell you.
He'll let you know.
Toys Wonderland does not make the toys. They don't pay him for his reviews.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, everyone's like, well, Toys Wonderland and Justin, they don't, Toys Wonderland just sells shit. They don't make it. They don't make it.
Yeah.
And then that's a big thing in business. You know, he's a guy that he might have friends and Toys Wonderland. I've had a pretty great experience with them. Sometimes I don't, and their customer service is not up to snuff. But you know what? I've bought a lot of stuff from them.
It happens.
I've had a pretty great experience.
It happens.
They have a great payment plan.
Yeah, but
and they take American Express.
And they're distributors. They're not manufacturers, so they can't bribe. If Justin Justin will never tailor his reviews to service Toys Wonderland.
No,
Robert, we have so many super chats
I know,
tonight, too.
I know.
I'm sorry. What we're gonna do here.
No, hang on. We'll just keep going.
A long night,
Robert. Hang on. Connie, the lovely Connie Sang, who I adore. She's so cute. Says, looking forward. She's coming over tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing the Batman again on Sunday and Aliens. So Connie had never seen Alien or Aliens. We showed her Alien. She's seeing Aliens tomorrow. And she's bringing food and whiskey and her cute little self. And I look forward to that. Claudius says, Monsieur, I can watch Adam West Batman and enjoy it and follow it up with Nolan's The Dark Knight. I can enjoy Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman as well as Zoe Kravitz and Arthur Kitt.
Yes.
Now I need someone to meow. Well, Claudius has a good point, and I'd ask you, both of you,
yes.
You know, the Batman has had so many iterations. Can't we enjoy them all? To varying degrees?
I think we should enjoy them all. I think we should enjoy them all.
She was so badass when she played that role and so young, and I still go back and watch her in it, and she's like, I'm gonna get that Batman, and I'm just like, it's so good. God,
So good.
I love her.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm waiting for the figure for her as well.
Yeah, they fucking better make that figure.
Yeah, it's long overdue.
Although I have to be honest, I'm going to feel a little uncomfortable or unclean buying it. But I'm gonna buy it anyway, unapologetically.
Unapologetically, that's what I'm talking about.
I know. Well, you got LaToya. You know, she's like Catwoman herself.
Yes, she is.
But she'll be like, you better buy that. She'll be.
Yeah.
Darth,
It's great having a girlfriend and fiance that you could just be like, yo, I just want to get this. Oh, babe, go ahead and get it,
dude. You should crowdfund your wedding and live stream it. I'm telling you, it'd be great. I think we'd all do it. We'd all pay.
Yeah.
I'll pay. I'll run that crowdfunding campaign. Darth Plato says, serious question, Rob. What are the chances of us seeing Doctor Strange in the next Batman or two? Come on, Darth Plato. That would be 0. By the way, how excited are we for Doctor Strange?
Yo, you don't. Listen, that is literally my most anticipated film of the year. Literally, my most anticipated film of the year. Like, literally, I want to see it with, I just want to see it with 30,000 individuals. That's how much, like, literally, I want to see it in a 30,000
tonight.
Strong stadium.
Lael Rockwell presents in Madison Square Garden.
Yes,
30,000 individuals watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Bro, do you imagine how that the theater? Rob, you've touched on this so many times, and I concur 1,000,000,000th. Like, listen. The theater experience of watching a film is electrifying when you have people that can share the experience with you, and they feel, and you just feel each other's energy. It's an energy that I can't feel at home watching it by myself, or even with Toy. Like, we sit down and watch it, we feel the energy, but it's like, yo, we want to be in the theater. Like, literally, I cannot wait. And on top of that, Doctor Strange is her favorite comic book character of all
Oh,
time.
really?
Is that
If
why?
you-
I mean,
if you
look
come
at
to
that.
this
Look at your
house, you will
beard. Look at your
understand it.
magnificent beard. It's kind of you have a Doctor Strange
Yeah.
beard, kind of.
Bro, that is her favorite comic book character of all time. And if you come to this house, you will see she has a shrine for Doctor Strange. She loves Doctor
Wow.
Is that next to the
Wow.
washing machine or what?
Nah, it's like
Okay,
no, it's
okay,
not.
okay. Just saying, right down there.
She
It's not in the
can't have it.
basement.
She can't have it down here.
Okay,
It's my
okay,
space.
I
It's
like it.
my
Okay,
kingdom.
okay,
This is
okay.
my kingdom, baby.
Adam Leaderway says,
Hi,
"Tell
Adam.
me, I'm not a superhero comic guy, and I should order a Batman book. Where should I start?" Oh, bro. Okay.
Go ahead,
Here's
Rob. Go ahead.
here's what I would say. You know what? It's so easy to say. Read Batman Year One by Frank Miller. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, but that was a reinvention of Batman in the 80s. But it's Batman Year One. I think Frank Miller. I mean, you've got Batman came out in Detective Comics in what, 1939?
Mhm.
Was that Batman?
It
Detective
was-
Comics 31 or not?
It was.
27.
Hold on.
It was Detective Comics 27, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
And it
Yes,
was
it was.
it 1939?
That's what I'm actually looking up right now. as
Gee,
we
so he's
speak.
almost the same age as Superman.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe it was Superman was 39. Maybe his Batman was 40
Hold up.
something.
I'm pulling it up right.
No, I had
now.
no idea that they came out around the same time. Darth Plato says, please tell Rob Dr. Hugo Strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another great Batman villain.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm looking at it right now. First appearance was, you are absolutely right, 1939, Rob. Yes,
there you
March
go.
30,
Ding, ding,
March
ding.
Okay.
1939.
So this
My man
month,
Rob.
there you go. 1939, Detective Comics
March.
27, right?
Yes.
Yep. Well,
Yes.
well.
Lord Toth says,
By the
I
way,
own
how
Batman
cool
Year One,
is it,
and it was
though?
good.
how cool is it though?
Right.
It's March. It's March, and it came out. The original Batman came out in March. It's pretty cool. They released this movie in March.
That is pretty cool.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, Lord Toth says, I own Batman Year One. This is what you were talking about, and it was good.
It
Yeah,
is good. It's really good.
it is.
Good.
It is.
But
it is.
Adam-
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
I mean, Adam says I'm not a superhero comic guy and I should order a Batman book. I think what's really interesting is a lot of people are intimidated by comics. Elizabeth, my girlfriend, even said once, she's like, I don't know how to read comics. I was like, wait, what? She's like, I never read comics. I find it difficult to look at the page and the thought balloons and all that. And I was like, well, that's a very valid criticism because it is a different way to read. You know, you can read the actual letters, but the way you watch panels, it's something you have to learn, and I which I respect. But I would say that, you know, there's so many great Batman stories, but Batman Year One gives you sort of a grounding point. But it's hard to say. I mean, that's just a great place to begin to know the character.
Exactly.
But then you've got decades of great Batman stories, which is
I always thought that comics look like storyboards to me. I mean, I can't mentally separate a storyboard from a comic book panel. They look
It's
like
tough.
storyboards to me.
But the
I
way
mean-
but the way some people use panels, it's very innovative. It's very crazy.
Yes, like in The Walking Dead, for example. In The Walking Dead, let's say the first series, where a lot of the panels, there were no words in the panels.
Right.
So they would just have like pictures. And I'm like, this is pretty neat. Like you have to interpret what's going on by the pictures that are there and without the words, but you know what's going on because of the way that I guess Kirkman drew the panels. But the other thing I was going to say is that I've relied on cosmixology for a long time because you can enlarge the panels and I can't see as well as I used to see. So, you know, just my vision is poor. And, you know, they had made some updates recently that have disturbed a lot of people because you can't enlarge the panels like you used to. Like I could enlarge a panel and show my mom who's in her 80s and she would say, oh yeah, I can see what you're talking about, you know, but what they did, these changes they did recently, and they promised they're going to change it back so that you can look at it, you know, these tiny panels I cannot read.
Yeah. You know what? Isn't it amazing? We live in a world where people would think that was something to. Someone's like, well, it costs more money if we can make the panels bigger. Like, yeah, but our readers run the gamut of all ages. Someone's like, only people between the ages of 13 and 26 read comics. No.
No.
That's not
Not at all, buddy.
That's not true.
Not at all,
Yeah,
buddy.
so, I mean, like, here's another thing. Our society, we live in a society where, God bless everyone who became Ivy League educated business people, but not all businesses are the same, contrary to what economists would, especially anybody who works in the geek space, the imagination connoisseur space. I understand you need to understand business, but if you are working in the imagination connoisseur space, if you don't understand that space, I watch it happen. I've watched how many companies in 1994 Image broke and all the Image creators came to Comic-Con like conquering heroes, and there was like, we have to get all these Wall Street investors like, we have to get involved in comics, so we're gonna have like Broadway comics and Jim Shooter's comics and all this. They all failed because comics are based on talent.
Yeah.
Comics aren't successful because they're comics.
Yeah.
Comics are successful because the storytellers who work in that medium are great. Nowadays, the American comic industry is being slaughtered by manga. You know, and people are like, well, why is that? Well,
Yeah.
because the characters who are the creators who are creating manga are unfettered by the constraints of a ridiculous society that wants to tell them what they should and shouldn't say. Manga's genuine, and you know what manga's all about? People have emotions. People are they're like, oh, you can't say that. The characters in manga are passionate, and they scream what they're feeling at the top of their lungs. Those are real characters. That there's a reason why we're starved for that.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
We're starved. I'm just doing it, being a little dramatic. I'm eating chili. I love these. I love pistachios. These are the wonderful chili roasted pistachios, and sometimes
Nice.
they become a little
Yeah.
overwhelming. So, but yeah,
That's the chili, bro. That's the chili.
I know it's great, but that's what people get pissed off about. Like, there's a reason manga is all. There's nobody pandering to them. There's nobody like, we have to work in our social agendas or whatever. The writers and creators of manga are true to their stories. They're not going, well, let me tell you what I know about society, what you need to understand, and I'm going to weave it into my stories, and I'm going to make you feel guilty about being part of my audience. Manga doesn't do that. Manga, they're telling some crazy stories. And by the way,
Very interesting stories. Bro.
very interesting stories that are different from the West. The West, all of us here, especially in America, all of our stories have been polluted by agendas, politics, and all craziness.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, man,
Facts.
stories must be true. And you know where stories come from? We all live in this world together. We all understand the truth of our existence. We all understand what it's like to get up every morning and we have to pee. We all understand that at night we get tired. It's all the same. And all stories are based on collective human experience.
Yeah.
And the best stories take that collective human experience and comment on it. And when you start trying to pretend that our collective human experience is invalid, or, well, your experience isn't real, you need to know better. That's when storytelling gets perverted
Yeah.
and mutated, and people are like, I tune out. Manga,
Yeah.
they're telling stories that people believe in. They're like, I get it. Even though like One Punch Man can kill somebody with one punch.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, his plight is real, and we believe him. And I think the
Yeah.
reason people love manga and Japanese anime is the characters are passionate and they're full of emotion. And if they feel something, they will tell you, I feel this. And you know. So anyway,
Yes.
let's get back to what we're talking about, the
super
Batman.
chats.
No. So
We got a lot of super chats tonight too, Robert.
I know, and we're
Some
catching
very
up.
generous ones as well.
Oh my God. So on yesterday's, Magic Cave says, hello, R&B and crew. Clayface can work in a grounded, realistic Batman world. Read Batman Earth 1. That's actually true. Which also has a grounded Batman comic. Pattinson's Batman drew a lot of influence from it. I agree with that. Batman Year One does have... I mean, look, I don't know why. Lael, a lot of people keep talking about Clayface in the wake of the Batman. And I'm like, wow, why do you think that is?
I don't know.
I think
I don't have an answer.
Okay, so basically because Clayface is one of those characters that, even though, I mean, we've got some great fictional stories about this character, but you can adopt, I mean, just think about it. If you can adopt the character of Cobblepot's, into a film and make it realistic, you can do the same thing with Clayface. It's something, there's a way to basically do it.
And Matt Reeves have been talking about Mr. Freeze and making it work too.
So it can be done. It definitely can be done. I think it's just one of those situations where, again, it just has to be done right. You know what I mean? Because Clayface is a tricky character. He's not complicated, but it's a tricky character to adapt. But like you said, I agree. There's a way it can be done. It can be done.
I mean,
I'd be in for it. I'd definitely be.
I would too. Would you be in for Clayface?
Absolutely.
In a Pattinson world? All right, me too.
Yes. But he wouldn't be able to have a supernatural effect. Is it possible to do him in a way where he doesn't have?
Well, that's the key. I mean, I think
it can be. I mean,
Clayface just becomes a nickname.
Because they're clearly hinting. Again, we've talked about this before. They're clearly hinting Freeze, so they're clearly hinting that. So if we know that there's a possibility that and that's the thing is, look, Matt Reeves can do it. If anybody can actually adapt it, I believe that Matt Reeves is the person to do it.
I agree.
And I think he can. And the thing is, I think Matt Reeves right now, he's happy that he's in this space. He is. And you can, even when you hear his interviews, he's happy and he's passionate about, there were some people that were upset, how he said that, he would never do a Marvel film. Like he would never, or they're saying that they're mistaking a lot of words, but he says like he's just comfortable in the space that he's in with DC. And why not? I mean, why not? I mean, they're giving him the keys to the kingdom. Why not?
He's created his own mythology. He's created his own.
Why not?
I would love to see. I mean, I love what he did with Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
Dawn of Planet of the Apes and War of he did a great job. And
great job.
I love Cloverfield. I love Let Me In. I mean,
he's Let Me In, bro.
That was a great remake of the original. It was great. I loved it.
Let Me In, bro. That film was so good. It was the original was good and the remake was so good. It's like some of my favorite. Yeah, both were some of my favorite films, man.
No, he's great. He's a world-class filmmaker, and it's like
he is.
Well, you know what's funny?
Yeah.
What I find strange, like, okay, you might not like the way the Batman addresses the character of Batman. I get that. But there was a lot of love and craft put into that movie. The people that made that movie, they set out to do something.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it provided a holistic vision. It gave you something where it was thought about on every level.
Yeah.
Now, whether you enjoyed that vision, well, that's fine. You might not. But for me, what I want is an auteur's vision. I want to see something that was given to me, that was fully realized, that was not made by committee. And I think that's what I got with the Batman. You might object to it. You might not love it. Or love it. You might love it. I really enjoyed it because I felt I got a new take a new visionary take
And
on the
that's what we
character
wanted.
in the world. Yeah, and that's
That's what
all
we
I'm.
wanted.
That's all I ask for any, whether I'm reading a Stephen King novel, or I'm watching an episode of modern Star Trek, or I'm watching Breaking Bad or Ozark. I just want to know that the storyteller understands the story they're telling me.
And they're allowed to tell the story that they want, but they're allowed to tell the story that they want to tell, but they are really complimenting the IP. Like they're paying respect and homage to the IP, but telling the story that they want to tell.
Yeah, and
I'm in.
100%. And I don't think Matt Reeves said, well, we're gonna update the Batman character for our modern age.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna honor the Batman character's entire legacy of the last 80 years.
Exactly.
And whereas I feel like our other great IPs, Star Wars or Star Trek, well, we're gonna update these IPs and make them the way we see them now. And I'm like, no, stories are supposed to be universal and timeless. So when you want to make them reflect our age today, I'm like, you've missed the point.
Yeah, you did.
I was still talking to my mother about the film today, and she still honestly believes that this film, in her mind, when she saw the film, she thought it was an independent art film, like an art film, like a person who wanted to do something.
God bless her. It was. You just tell her it was. God damn it.
She's completely convinced of this. And I said, no, Mom, I think it's like a major studio. She's like, no, this is different. This is a different type of experience. And you go into this enjoying that different type of experience. And, she watches classic cinema all day long. So, she immediately pegged it as that. And as I said before, she told me what the ending would be, which is a little disturbing, when you go into a film, when your mom guesses the ending, which she does a lot. But, I just kind of nudge her and I go, and she actually said, well, what did you think he was going to do? Let all those people die? And I said, well, no, I didn't think that. And she's like, what did you think he was going to do? Of course he was going to go and help those people. So she immediately knew right away what was going to happen, how the ending would be rectified, so to speak, and that conclusion at the end was going to come to fruition. And then she also usually says, I've seen this film before. And I'm like, no, Mom, this is new. But I think what's happening is that in her mind, she's seen similar, say, situations or similar things in different films. And, like with a film that's very artsy or like a Citizen Kane style film, where everything is placed very specifically and there's a lot of symbolism in it. But it is an art film in a sense for me. And that's why, honestly, I feel like it's a masterpiece. But
No, I agree. Tom Jr. Jackson says Riddler was in Arkham and yet got punched on the walkway. Was there twins? Well, no, everyone's dressing as him.
Yeah.
Rakan Man 85 says, I want to elaborate with what I meant.
Okay.
Dark tone, but the ability to bring in any villains, no grounding in reality. I feel like we haven't gotten that yet. Well, I mean, my thought is this. I mean, I have a theory about modern superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all want to see movies where the superheroes are right outside our window. The closer to the world that we live in. Because when I was a kid, when you're reading comics, you imagine that superheroes existed in your world. Yeah. And so when Tim Burton made the original Batman, Gotham City, the way Anton Furst, his production design, that was not a city that existed on our Earth. Mm-hmm. It was in a gothic netherworld horror, whatever. Mm-hmm. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, the way it's been done, it's like, okay, this is our world. Even the way it's, people like, well, the way it's lit, it's not very like, no, they very specifically tried to make it our world. Like, when you watch a Marvel movie, it's not like in some alternate Anton Furst world. No, it's us.
Yes,
yeah.
Paris
New York
is
us.
London, yes.
And even when you're reading the comics, that's what makes it, there's an extra added element of fun. Like, oh my God, is Thor going to come right by? Is the Vision going to fly? Are we gonna, and that's part of the appeal. So
Yeah.
when people like, Rob, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is so flat. It's so not. I'm like, no, it's supposed to look like the world outside your window.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not stylized. And I love it for that.
Yeah. I think people, you know what, the you know what, sometimes, man, like, can we just get to a place where we just enjoy, just cinema, and we enjoy the simple fact that a lot of these IPs are being brought to life, things that we thought were never possible and we would never actually see on screen. Can we enjoy that? It's just being hypercritical about everything, because the thing is, you have to realize that there's not a lot that they have done some fantastic things, but at the same time they have to also stay within the realm of, okay, we have to kind of make this believable, but at the same time, we don't want it to look like, something that's completely hokey, and we have to make it where it's completely realized the right way. There are certain storylines that can never be adapted on screen. They're literally that can never be fully fleshed out and adapted, because if they did that, it would take several years for them to complete it. Like, literally. So there's certain storylines
The
that can't. You
Clone
have to
Saga.
like, you can't. Like, there's certain things that cannot be adapted, but just appreciate what we are getting. Appreciate some of the things that we do get, and just understand it. Like, you know what? We live in a world now where it's like, look, it's cool to be a geek and have geek things, and the geek things that that are realized on screen are making money. So that we'll get more, and we'll continue to get more.
Yes, and we have the best actors and actresses who want to play these roles.
That want to play it.
And
Speaking of which,
major studios are interested in making the films, and we're getting more reiterations, not just in the big screen, but in the small screen, and in continuing on in comic book lines, but also in animation as well. It's a great time to be a fan right now.
It's fantastic.
Oscar Isaac was on. He's on SNL tonight. I recorded it. He's funny as hell. Like, he is literally funny. So if you get a chance, go back and watch it.
Does he do an apocalypse thing?
Well, no. Look, Rob, check it out. He actually tonight he actually showed a film of him in his hometown when he was like, I think he said he was 13 or 14 years old, and he created a movie called The Avenger. It wasn't The Avengers, but it's called The Avenger. It was him, 13, 14 years old, at his home, and it's a like a VHS whatever recorded of him creating this character. So he showed it on Saturday Night Live. It was incredible. He said it, but he was talking about that because he was like, he also talked about him playing Moon Knight. So Oscar's all in. He's all in for
dude.
this. He's already on his
I know.
now.
I mean, I had a really good experience. Plug. I do the Designing Hollywood podcast, and I was interviewing Donald Moat, who is Oscar Isaac's makeup artist.
Yeah,
and they were in Budapest where they were shooting Moon Knight, and it was so funny. I led when I was talking to him. When I do these podcasts, I try and bond with people that I talk to by saying, "Listen, let me tell you what I'm already a fan of this." And like, you are? I'm like, yeah. And so I had this Donald Maw is great. He worked on Dune, and he said to me, it was really interesting. He says, Oscar Isaac loves this stuff, but the whole crew, and we're all worried, like, does anyone know about Moon Knight? He's like a lesser character.
Gosh.
Right, he said to me, and I was like, bruh, does anyone know about Moon Knight? And I had literally just, it was unplanned. I had my Moon Knight comics. I have my Moon Knight bust, which is there. I have my Moon Knight action figures. So I'm pulling all of this off the shelves. I'm like, do I know about Moon Knight? And I'm like, dude.
Right.
And so he was all excited. And he's like, my God. Yeah. I go, you don't understand. Yeah. And the problem with Moon Knight is he's had so many iterations over the last 45 or almost, since 1975. So he's 47 years old now, right?
Wow.
And Moon Knight's 47 years old. He was introduced in Werewolf by Night in 1975. And so they didn't know, and I'm like, no. The funny thing about Moon Knight is Moon Knight is a character everyone loves that never had a great comic series.
Yeah.
There's been good stuff, but the good stuff it's always been changed. Every iteration of Moon Knight has changed who it started out being.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Moon Knight. Anyway, I don't want to.
They're gonna know him now.
Yes, they will. Oh my God.
They're gonna know him now, and he's gonna have. He's not only just on the small screen, but cinematically, they're gonna know him. Trust me.
Right.
So Rakan Man, about reality, I think they did a pretty good job in the Batman to bring things down to reality. Claudius, my man Claudius says,
another one.
the Batman, I love this depiction of Gotham. It was a mix of London, NYC, Chicago, and Glasgow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
I
hadn't thought about
agree.
that.
Due to the rain and lightning, I expected Batman to visit the local Tyrell Corporation to question a replicant. Question: could Bruce pass the Voight-Kampff test?
Did we lose Lael?
No, I think Lael's laughing.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
what?
yeah, I'm
what-
here.
He's getting a figure. He's getting a figure.
Look at that.
Well, no, because I had to put something on it. I can't sit here and if I see this piece, I'm like, yeah, I got to put it back. It's just annoying me. So
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay, no
by the way,
worries.
but before you answer Claudius's question, what do you have there, Lael?
this is the upgrade suit. Spider-Man.
Oh wait, hang on.
Nice.
Wait. You mean
Yes.
this suit?
That's it.
Oh
That's
wait,
it.
I've got Peter Parker wearing Tony Stark's,
Yes.
the glasses. I'm just saying, I got him right
This
there.
suit is it's amazing, bro. I love this. Is probably one of my favorite iterations
Dude,
now.
this Hot Toys figure is fucking incredible.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is.
This is one of the last figures I have not packed up. I have to pack him, but just to move him. But I don't want to because I love having him next to me. And by the way, I love having Tony Stark's glasses, and it's such a great head sculpt. He will not be my final pose. This is just why I've had him out as Peter Parker, because I love that head sculpt. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
I love this figure, bro. I just love all my figures.
it's
man.
I know it's fucking
I
great,
love them all, man.
dude.
I just love them
It's
all.
so good, so good.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce, Claudius asks a very interesting question. The Voight-Kampff test is the test that Blade Runners in Blade Runner 1982's Blade Runner, based on Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep.
Yes.
It's a test. It's an empathy test that they give to people to see if they are replicants or not.
And isn't there a real test like this for, like in, I guess, Ex Machina? There's I don't think it's called, maybe it is the same name, but.
No, in Ex Machina, it's a Turing test.
Is it called the Turing test?
Yeah, because the Turing test, as a matter of fact, and hang on, because let me read this. The Turing test is very important.
Yes.
So for those of you who don't know what the Turing test is, because this is actually, since we're talking about this test. So the Turing test, okay, this is very interesting because you can see this in the movie, The Imitation Game.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Turing test, originally called The Imitation Game, by Alan Turing in 1950, is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior, equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. Alan Turing proposed that a human evaluator would judge natural language conversations between a human and a machine designed to generate human-like responses. The evaluator would be aware that one of the two partners in conversation is a machine, and all participants would be separated from one another. The conversation would be limited to a text-only channel, such as a computer keyboard and a screen, so that the result would not depend on the machine's ability to render words as speech. If the evaluator cannot reliably tell the machine from the human based on text, the machine is said to have passed the test.
Right.
The test results do not depend on the machine's ability to give correct answers to questions only how closely its answers resemble those that a human would give.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were talking to somebody, and by the way, half of the dating apps in the world are proving this, not that I would know, but they do. I mean, it's very interesting that could Bruce pass the Voight-Kampff test? So that is the test in Blade Runner, whether an empathy test that tells you whether you are a replicant or a human. Look, even though I've said Bruce Wayne's an alien, I think he does have empathy. And if he was questioned by a Blade Runner, I think he would pass the Voight-Kampff test because ultimately his quest is an emotional one.
Yeah.
And it's not fake. So he would pass the test, I think. Ash Chowan. Ash Chowan says, the scene of Batman carrying a wounded woman and placing her on a stretcher as she reaches out to thank him without saying a word really got to me.
Yeah.
This subdued and simple scene was one of the most heroic moments Batman has ever had on film.
Yeah.
Very emotional. What do you guys think?
You know what? It looked like they purposely, they perfectly, or perfectly and purposely mimic 9/11. That's what it looked like. It
Dude,
looked
and
like they-
Katrina. The
and
second time I
Katrina.
saw
or,
it,
or
the
Hurricane
Superdome,
Sandy in New York.
the flooding. Oh yeah, and so it was so very intentional and beautifully done. By the way,
I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah,
Definitely loved it.
I thought so. Ashley Chase just sent in a super chat. Thank you, Ashley. Zach Taylor sends in a super chat and says, "I love the scene when the signal was turned on and the fear in the bad guy's eyes as they look up into the sky was amazing." Dude, I love that too. What'd you guys think? I thought it was so
loved
good.
it. Definitely loved it.
You know, we were talking about the acting, and you know, earlier I was mentioning how the Batman didn't have necessarily a lot of speaking parts, but it's these parts where there isn't a lot of speech going on, but the acting there, either in the fear in the faces and the, you know, the looks and the glances, say a million words in a film like this that is so heavily based upon emotion.
Oh, totally.
I agree. I agree.
So good. And I Zach, I have to say to you, absolutely. I mean, the emotion in that, it was amazing. He also says the car chase scene was the best ever out of all the Batman movies. I concur with that. I mean, it was wild, loud, ferocious, fast.
Yes. Lael, I wanted to ask you about the sound because I know that the previous version you couldn't hear the sound. Now that you've heard the sound of the Batmobile, what did you think of it now that you were in a theater where you had that?
I loved it. But here's the thing, like, it's crazy because we know Jazz Inc. is actually producing their own version of the Batmobile, and I'm wondering if he's going to incorporate that sound. If the revving, because we already got the revving of the engine, but I'm just wondering if he's going to actually recreate that sound because
it's a tough call. But
now, when I was in the theater, when that engine came on, the theater vibrated, like it just because it was so you know,
it was loud.
It
was loud. It was definitely loud, and I loved it. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what? My pockets are going to be empty.
Oh, dude. Yes, they will.
Yeah, they are going to be empty, bro.
Oh my God, they will. Yes, they will.
Do we still have more super chats from yesterday, Robert?
Oh, dude, we so many. We're
oh my gosh.
Flying through them. Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
So where are we? Okay. So the man with the master plan says, loved the Batman. It's on par with the Dark Knight. Is it?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think that it's such a different film that it's not going to resonate the same, but I think that it could be as popular because I think for more mature audiences, this might fill a void. for Batman for them, because we had a few years where we didn't have a standalone Batman film.
Yeah.
And some of the films where Batman was with other, superheroes, it just had a different tone, didn't it? A completely different tone.
Yeah.
So I think that this as a standalone film will be as important as the Rises series for me.
Yeah.
If not
I
more.
think it again, I think it's going to stand on its own 2 feet as a remarkable piece of work. And I'm eager to see more. And it's not even to do a comparison to The Dark Knight. Like that, you can't. Again, I try not to because I don't want to, because they're two totally different iterations. You know what I mean? Even though they both have darker tones, now they have dark tones, but you cannot take away from the simple fact that Matt Reeves' version is darker, much darker, like literally. So you can't take that away from this. They were all in on the darkness that they were trying to portray in this one, and I loved it. So again, I will say that both are their own separate iterations. Both are welcoming, especially to like this comic book lore. And I'm glad that we actually get live action versions, so I'm all in for it. But yeah, let's just give me more.
Yes.
Just give me more. Just give me more.
All right, I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to step out for just a second. I'm going to give you one more to answer this question because okay, this is we'll come back to this because this has nothing to do with the Batman.
Okay.
But I would ask you this. Gage says, did you see Reeves said there's a scene with the Batman interviewing Joker to try and find out who the Riddler is, but it was cut. I know the miniseries are coming out. Could we get a Riddler and Joker HBO show about them in prison and breaking out? What do you guys think? I don't know about that, but
I wonder. It is interesting why he cut that scene, though. That would be interesting why he cut it. But I guess
I'm gonna let you guys. I'll jump out for just a second.
Yes, we'll be here when you come back.
Yeah, I think that he didn't want to. I think that he basically probably didn't want to focus on, the Joker in general. He didn't want that to take too much of he didn't want that to take away from the film, of his film, of his iteration. I mean, we've gotten that way too many times, and he wanted the focus to be mainly on, the Riddler. That was we have your protagonist, your antagonist. Like, you want to make sure that you're covering your bases and giving that person screen time and that respect and the space to breathe without depending on any other character. So it's probably why he did it, and it was a good choice, to be quite honest. And we got that hint of Joker in the end, which I know I wasn't really for it at first, but then I understood why he did it and how it kind of makes sense in the scheme of what we can expect going forward. So it's cool.
Yeah, no, you make such a good point with that. I think you're right. I do realize that he had to introduce that character at some point because he wants to use the character in the future.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to escape prison at all. I want them to stay in prison, but still be able to influence people.
Yeah. That would be
because, we know from online stuff, I want to see an online iteration of this, I guess very similar to what it actually happened in the film we saw, but where they don't even have to leave the prison to have an influence, and that would also be very realistic.
Yeah.
From what we've been seeing, right, in a lot of other shows where people are behind bars, but they're still able to have influence on the outside world when it comes to crime. So I think that would be very interesting, and no one would suspect them because they're in prison. They would think that they don't have that influence on people outside, but they actually do have the influence there. So I think that would be kind of interesting. But
sure.
Yeah. Like you, I'm not quite sure whether I want to see them introduced to have as close contact with Batman, maybe some other characters, but it would be interesting to see that they have their own unit there the whole time. And, then they figure out that that's what's been going on. So, but I guess we'll see. The other thing I was going to say is in regards to the sound, and I know that you saw the film again tonight, and the sound is much improved. This was one of the first films that my mother saw where she didn't ask me, or say that she couldn't hear anything because of the sound was at the right level.
Yeah.
But normally, a lot of times I have to get these special headphones that they have in the theater for her in case, if she can't hear anything, but she could hear things. And there were some points, as you mentioned, where the sound competed with what people were saying. And I kind of wondered, like, for example, in the beginning of the film, when they had that scene with the EDM, and I love EDM. This is my favorite kind of music. So I was just so shocked that they had EDM in a Batman film like this.
Yeah.
I was just in heaven. But they chose to have this fight scene, while the EDM was playing, and they didn't lower the EDM music.
Nah.
They kept it at the same height.
They kept it at that. Which was a good choice. And the reason why I felt that way was because, I mean, if we're okay, in reality, if you're fighting in especially in a club, you're not going to hear the punches.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to actually hear the impact of a punch while there's music in the background. And I think that they purposely did it that way. I'm glad they did it, because it just brings that, again, we're looking for realism, and I think that it gives us that. So I was excited that they chose not to raise the volume on the fight scenes, that we can just basically see the interpretation of those fight scenes. And just it leaves it up to our imagination to what could be going on, what could be said, like the pain, like just the crackling of bones, the cracking, I'm glad they did it that way. I'm happy
cracking of bones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also like that to add to what you're saying, Lael, when there were punches and blows, we didn't see like, an exact break where it was necessarily. So we knew there was a break, but we didn't see, it's like, oh, they broke their forearm or whatever.
Yeah.
It got hurt badly. We have to kind of like in our minds say, I bet you he broke his arm, or I bet you he broke his ankle, or,
Yeah,
So.
Exactly.
Now this is a total change of pace. The film guy sends in a super chat and says, my friend who worked on the special effects for Boba said it had half the budget of Mando season 1, and it was a passion project for Jon Favreau, but Lucas had no faith in it. Jon Favreau pushed for it, and he signed with them. I have to say, I don't buy that, because Boba Fett was clearly established in Mando season 2, and I have to say, guys, girls, gentle beings, kind souls, imagination connoisseurs the world over, if you don't think that the words Boba Fett were not thought of every day of the Mandalorian's development and creation, you have another thing coming. Because the entire Mandalorian world, all of it, goes back to the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978.
Yes,
and, of course, The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, Boba Fett is the GOAT. And he, if you like Star Wars, it's funny because, there are things that kids like. Sharks, dinosaurs. It's like bred into us. We love that shit. And for whatever reason, whatever our kid DNA has, the reason we love sharks and dinosaurs, we saw Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back. It's the same shit. Kids love Boba Fett. He's like a shark or a dinosaur, but in green and gray. And I mean, we just love our Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's a mysterious character. He was a character we all wanted to be. Somebody who we didn't have to look people in the eye.
Yeah.
We're wearing armor. And he's worth a lot to me. I mean, come on. We all want to be Boba Fett. So I don't think that if Jon Favreau, after Mandalorian season 1, I don't think if Jon Favreau said, I don't even know what Jon Favreau sounds like these days, but he wasn't going, you guys, I mean, the Mandalorian, it's the Boba Fett show we wanted to make. It's not like the executives are like, what Boba Fett show? Who's Boba Fett? They didn't say that. Jon Favreau's like, I mean, Boba Fett's the prototype. we really wanted to make a Boba Fett show. Like the Mandalorian should have been called Boba Fett instead of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So we made a Mandalorian show that was really the Boba Fett show we were going to make. So make no mistake.
Yeah.
Don't you think that the Mandalorian was supposed to be the Boba Fett show? Yes, it was. It was.
Yeah.
And people can tell you whatever you want. That if you don't believe that, you don't understand how shit works. Can you imagine, like, so Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni going in there like, we want to pitch a show called The Mandalorian. And the executives are like, what? The Mandalorian? You go in and pitch, we want to do a Boba Fett show. And someone's going to be like, oh my God, I bought my kid Boba Fett when I was a kid. He has the action figure.
Right.
There's no The Mandalorian action figure. So the reason that they didn't make a Boba Fett show has something to do with Lucasfilm and Disney and their deal or whatever. Because if someone said, imagine, I want to make the Boba Fett show, put Boba Fett in the Mandalorian's position in the first 2 seasons. Come on now. You could tell the exact same story.
Absolutely. And it would have been very interesting to see Boba Fett with Baby Yoda that way.
Yep. And if you made that show, I would say, and for whatever reason, Disney thought they couldn't, whatever their rights issues were, because if they were going to do that, I mean, The Mandalorian is faux Boba Fett. And what ended up happening was that the Boba Fett show is faux Boba Fett because of The Mandalorian, which should have been the Boba Fett show.
There is a lot of truth to that, but there is also truth to saying that they could have, pumped up the Boba Fett show a bit more too in some categories to make it more like the other episodes. So I agree with you. And I also want to say thank you to the 289 people who are here in the chat and watching. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us. We certainly do appreciate you all.
By the way, for those people, I mean, I'm with, Lael always calls me smooth. But let me just say, I feel honored and privileged with streaming with these two lovely people. First of all, Lael Rockwell, you are the 1/6 scale man. Please tell people where they can find you on social media.
Oh man, they can find me at the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel. They can find me at the same name on Instagram and Twitter. Great content. Tomorrow we have, of course, Take Your Position, which will be moderated by yours truly, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Yeah, and what time is that supposed to be?
That is at 4:30 Eastern time.
1:30 my time.
But yeah, so 1:30 Rob's time. So
and
yeah.
by the way, I've been working out. I've been lifting weights, getting ready.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And you too have your own YouTube channel. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Positive Fandom. You can also find me on Twitch, one word, Positive Fandom. And that's where you can find me, or on the Burnettwork, or on the 1/6 Scale Man Network.
Yes.
or on Midnight's Edge.
Yes.
Which is great. Now we jump back into these. Adam Leaderway says, I get the feeling that no one writing a script these days ever served in a submarine. I think you know what I mean.
No, I don't know what he means.
Well, I mean, I think that when you're in an enclosed environment, and men and women, submariners, treat one another the way they treat each other. I don't know what they mean. Adam, I don't know where you're going for either, because I don't think we've served on a submarine, but I can't. It has to be a singular experience. I don't know.
Lael, do you know? I mean,
I have no idea.
Okay. All right.
Adam, if you can DM me, thank you so much. I will. If you give me a little bit more insight, you don't have to send me another super chat. Slide into my DMs and send it to me. I am Burnett RM on Twitter. Gage says, did you see Reeves said there were, I already asked that.
Okay.
Said there was a scene with Batman interviewing Joker to find out who the Riddler was, but it was cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We did.
Jaimin John says, I like the scene where Batman goes to Falcone's club. the second time as Bruce Wayne and utters,
Yes.
"Do you know who I am?" A nod to an earlier scene. I love that scene because he's distraught.
Mhm.
You know, he found out things about, I mean, his entire existence is based on these saintly figures of his parents that were murdered before their time, leaving him an orphan. And when he finds out, you know, his mother was in an insane asylum, his father, what I loved is that his father wanted, I mean, again, it becomes nuanced, you know, more
Yeah.
realistic. And I didn't
Yeah.
feel it besmirched the Batman mythos in that Thomas Wayne was trying to protect his wife's honor.
Yeah.
You know, that
Definitely.
she was troubled and he tried, and he didn't, that Falcone, he never thought Falcone was a murderous psychopath that liked hurting women. He didn't know that. And while I'd be like, I can't deal with that. You know, I don't know what to do. I can't. MCP Scotty
Hey, MCP
says,
Scotty.
watching Vertigo for the first time on my 4K Steelbook. Come on, dude. You can't watch anything on your 4K Steelbook. You can only have the disc in it. Just saying. I know what you mean, though. These old movies look so good. I love Hitchcock. Well, MCP Scotty, I have the 4K Vertigo, and by God, it looks amazing. And, you know, a lot of people say that Vertigo supplanted Citizen Kane for the greatest film of all time. I disagree with that, but Vertigo is amazing. A good friend of mine, a guy that I've met doing the midnight, not these shows, but the Midnighter, Jeremiah Bailey in
Hey,
Houston,
Jeremiah.
says, can kids enjoy Batman on film and convert to comics fans? These films are increasingly insular. It seems to be for adults, but Burton and Schumacher did both.
Can I?
That's a really interesting question, by the way.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say was that I remember, and I'm sure Lael and Robert, you remember going to the movies. Let's say in the 80s, you would go to the movies, and when you were at the movie theater, they had these kiosks where they would sell like memorabilia for the movies, depending upon what movie was playing.
Yeah.
Like for Star Wars, I remember very specifically they had, you know, like these collector's edition, you know, booklets and stuff. And my brother got them, you know, and my brother's like, don't touch them. And of course, like I was looking at these booklets, you know, and going through all this stuff. And I'm sorry, he's out there watching this. I'm sorry about that. But my point being that, like, for example, some of these movies that have made $1 billion, it is bewildering to me why they don't have a promotion for the comics at the theater. For example, they have this promotion with the Ecto-1 popcorn holder, you know, for Ghostbusters. And I picked it up. I didn't know when I went to the movie theater, I didn't know they had an Ecto-1 popcorn holder. But when I saw it, I was like, can I buy that? And they're like, yeah. So I bought it. But this is what happens when you end up at a theater and you enjoy yourself and it's a special moment. You might pick up these things. And I kind of think that one of the keys to accomplishing this, Jeremiah, is to get, since you can't go to, you know, a lot of stores anymore, like a 7-Eleven or a Circle K, and they don't have the stand that says, hey, kids comics anymore. If you can go to the movie theater when you're seeing that actual film, why not ask the person, you know, for $2 more, you can get the comic. You know, we have an omnibus comic that goes with this. You would buy it. You'd buy it.
Well,
like,
that's
just my thoughts.
Can I just chime in and say that when we saw the IMAX screenings on March 1st, they gave out a special Batman Long Halloween comic. And it was special, done for that, which was telling, because October 31st. You know, I mean, it definitely referenced the Long Halloween, but I thought that was really cool that they gave out that, you know, that comic. I thought that was really cool. And look, I agree. I mean, we live in a world where things are just different now. And the for me, all of this, as a genre fan, as an imagination connoisseur, our interests are very synergistic. They're very intertwined. No longer is someone like, well, I only read comics, Rob. No, you read comics, you play video games, you go see films, you collect action figures. It is a holistic continuum of, let's face it, awesomeness. Am I right, Lael?
Yes, it is.
And
Yes, it is.
you're a lady that
Yes.
also collects action figures. I mean,
Yes.
look.
And I collect comics too, but not superhero comics.
Well, yeah, in indie stuff, but I think
Yes.
I think what here's my problem with the way modern fandom is perceived. When I was a crazy fanboy, I would go to Tower Records and I would flip through their 12-inch remixes of Britpop in the 80s, and I would buy, whether I was buying Christian Death or Berlin or Prince or a metal record or whatever, I was buying all kinds of different things. And then I would go to the comic book store, and I would buy DC and Marvel, but I was also buying First Comics, or I was buying Pacific Comics, or I was buying all kinds of indie stuff. So my interests were a rainbow spectrum of stuff, and my musical taste. Like, I was not just a metalhead. I was listening to everything. I was listening to ska and punk and pop 40, and I was listening to all kinds of things because it was all part of the same continuum, which was awesome pop culture. In the 80s, you had to love everything. You go see a vampire movie like Tony Scott's feature, The Hunger. 1983, the movie opens with Bauhaus singing Bela Lugosi's Dead. And if you're a goth kid, Bela Lugosi's Dead is like the Stairway to Heaven of goth. And you're actually watching Peter Murphy, the lead singer of Bauhaus, sing in a movie that stars David Bowie. I mean, the Thin White Duke. I mean, we're Aladdin Sane, Ziggy Stardust. I mean, when you watch The Hunger in 1983, if you were a pop culture fan, it was so insane watching a movie starring David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve, who was a goddess in France, but David Bowie, one of the great pop stars of all time, who is being introduced by Peter Murphy, the Goblin King of Goth, in one movie. And it was, I mean, if you, a kid like myself, I'm like, my mind was fucking blown, and nowadays everything is so fragmented. And I feel like when I was a younger man, fandom, you weren't just a movie fan, you were a music fan, you were a fan of fashion and pop culture. It was all part of the same thing. Now, I feel like the fans, the community is very, what do you want to call it? Fragmented or compartmentalized. And I used to think, like, you couldn't be a movie fan without being a music fan, without being a fan of literature, because, like, in the 80s, if you're a movie fan and a music fan, you have to read the enfant terrible, Bret Easton Ellis, who wrote Less Than Zero, the terrifying book that an 18-year-old wrote or whatever, that later got turned into a movie starring starring Ultron and Iron Man. I mean, it was insanity. And
it was life imitating art for Robert Downey Jr., of course.
Oh my God, it so was, and now I feel that, I feel like the spectrum is closed in. Like we don't. Like before, we had to know a little bit about everything, and now I feel like pop culture has changed. It's just different. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I wrong?
Lael, I mean, what do you think? Do you think that like having the ability to purchase a comic at a movie theater while you're seeing it would increase kids being interested in comics after seeing the film? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think that here's the thing, is the consistency with it, though. I mean, because I think that if you're going to do it for one film, then any film that's actually introduced in a theater comic related, you should do it because you're opening that door for an individual to go back after they've seen the movie, to go back and read this source material to see where they got some of the ideas from. They may not have actually taken the entire story, but there's certain things and elements from that book sprinkled in to that film, which again, it opens the idea, because I even think that it even shouldn't just be for kids, it should be for some adults, because they always have questions. They always want to know, well, where is this coming from? Well, you have the
Right.
book in your hand, when you get home, read it. You know what I mean? You'll understand where this actually came from. So I think it's definitely an excellent idea. Or even if they don't want to actually sell the physical properties or give the physical properties away, they should have it. Because here's the thing: when I was in Australia, it was crazy because they came up with this idea that when you go see a film, if you see the movie poster, there was a code that you would put your phone over and scan that code. It would either take you to the trailer or information about the film that you get a chance to watch. And it's an ingenious idea. They should do the same thing for comics. If you actually see the film or if you go see the poster,
Oh, I love this idea.
You scan the
idea.
QR code, and when you scan the QR code, it takes you to some of the books, some of the, it would be incredible to do something like that. And in that way, it brings people into that world.
What a great idea. And not just like, it would give you a portal to whatever the tone you want. The mirth-filled fun of Batman and the Outsiders, or the darkness of Frank Miller's, or the original 70s gothic Denny O'Neil and why am I drawing a blank on his name right now? The artist. Anyway.
And you know what? Even when you say that, Rob, all right. So I'll even take it a step further. Since we're forced to sit through almost a half hour, 45 minutes of trailers that we probably, half of them we don't want to see. Why not basically before the film even starts, have the artist, a little insert of the artist before the film, have a segment where the artist talks about his inspiration for that book, have the writer talk about it and stuff like that, just to kind of introduce it before you see the film. So then it begs it, it starts the curiosity. People see that film and they'll also remember the original artist, the writer, and they'll go back when they get home and say, well, let me look this person up. And just to give them a space and give them kudos for what they've done, give them their time to shine.
Dude, and the QR code goes right on the screen.
Yeah,
and kabam, and people go, which I do, whatever. I just like doing that, and you go in and see. The funny thing is I really feel that marketing has not evolved in 20 years. The QR codes and all that they give you, like at the end of the Batman and the credits, they're like, bzzzt, and they give you a flash. And smart people have made videos and made frames of that thing. But at the end, the frame, it honors the original Batman characters.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you that much insight. It's cool they did that. And it's like, well, we don't have a post-credit scene, but here, let's honor it's fine. But I think the real problem ultimately with our culture, besides the fact that everyone is mad and angry about everything, the real problem is that all of these endeavors, artistic endeavors that we all love, it's hard work, and it's really, really difficult. And even I hate modern Star Trek, but I can't deny that there's so many people doing all the work, but they're just hired to implement what the powers that be tell them. And television is only as good as the showrunners. I think the people running Star Trek are passionless hacks that it's just another job for them, and because their credits have gotten them paid a lot of money, and that's fine. I will never deny that. But I would say that the people that should be paying attention to the actual franchise and how much it's been worth for decades, forget your relationships. What is your fealty to? Make it to the franchise, not to the people. If the people that are making it, but anyway, I'm off on a rant. So
it's okay.
Enough about Star Trek. But no, but I think that when you watch something like this,
Mhm.
the filmmakers behind the Batman,
Mhm.
they cared. They took the time. They invested. They
Yeah.
did research. And whether you
Yeah.
like the take or not, I think that our I know this is highfalutin, our culture was enriched for getting a Batman movie like the one Matt Reeves gave us. Whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, it shot for the moon. It,
Mhm.
it really tried to be something that was elevated, that was something we
Yeah.
weren't normally going to get. And Matt Reeves, his ambition was vast.
Mhm. Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, I just love the fact that we should be inspiring people, especially with our IPs, where the only way they're reinvigorated is when a guy like Matt Reeves gets the shot he got.
Yeah.
And we have to
True.
I would say let's revel in that, because isn't
Mhm.
that good?
It's fantastic.
This is true. This is truth.
And do we have some more super chats?
Oh, so many.
I know we got some super chats that were like of a high denominational value.
Yes,
Like,
and we're still we're just 2 hours behind. We're catching up. Peruvian Heat. Oh my God, I love that. Peruvian Heat says, I just watched the Batman for the second time tonight in IMAX, and it confirms it for me. In my opinion, this is the best and my favorite Batman movie. I like how we see Batman in 95% of the film. That's a really great point. For me, the first thing that I really noticed, is that Batman just like walks into rooms with 50 dudes. What'd you guys think? Did you like that? I mean, Batman is not in the shadows. He's not a myth. He's a
not
guy
hiding.
that, no, he's there, and everyone
He's not
knows him.
hiding. He's not hiding.
not.
And
He
there's a
almost
reason
had
for him
to make himself known, because perhaps, his existence at that point was mythical. And, now I guess he feels that he has to come to the forefront, especially I think he feels a certain level of responsibility in solving this crime, especially since he's getting notes that say, what does it say? To the Batman
To the
or whatever.
Batman, yeah.
To the Batman,
So it's almost
yeah.
as if he has to show up as that character in order to receive the notes. He can't kind of like show up as Bruce Wayne and receive those. He has to present himself as, this person. And therefore, because there are so many notes, and his prominence in the investigation is so important, that he has to don the outfit more. So I thought it was wonderful.
And of course, he has the respect and the trust of Gordon, that, his safety, that he's in safe hands. Like even the scene when, Gordon tells him to punch him in the face. He's like, you got to punch me in the face. It was like he knew it was going to.
How great was that to get out of here? I mean,
yeah, it was great. And then he was like, man, I thought you were going to pull your punch, man.
I did.
Yeah, it was incredible. But no, I think you're right. I mean, I think and also he has to make his presence felt, because again, you have, someone like the Riddler who's making, the public believe that, they're both in cahoots, and he has to prove to him, like to everyone, like, no, I have no idea who this person is. I'm just as oblivious as you are, and we're trying to, figure this out together. So yeah.
We also see one of the first scenes where that platform scene, which was phenomenal, the subway platform scene, where even though a person has witnessed the Batman, like knock out all these guys, they're actually still afraid of him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that was something I think that we realized right away, is that, and of course we get the payoff at the end when people aren't afraid of him anymore. But we realized at that point that even though he's kind of doing these deeds that seem to be good, people are still terrified. I mean, it does not look like a welcoming costume. If I saw a man dressed like that in the subway, I would be like, okay, I got to keep my distance from this guy, because I don't know what to expect. And it was a realistic interpretation of what people would see. They're not going to be so warm and cuddly and warming up to a guy you just saw knocking out, what was it, 7 guys?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Please
I-
don't
they
hurt
were
me. That's what
really,
the guy
but they
said.
were really bad guys too.
Yes, they were. And the guy said, "Please don't hurt me." You know, even after
Mhm.
after Batman saved him, he was still a little
Yeah.
frazzled from it
So
all.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It is. It's like I said, the film. After watching it a second time, I have like such a new respect for Reeves and what he's done. You know, Robert Pattinson did a hell of a job at portraying his
Yep.
character. So I hope basically all the non-believers change their minds a bit. And of course, I mean, come on, man, Zoe Kravitz, you know, the sexiest thing on screen right
My
now,
God, dude. Come
you
on.
know, doing her thing, and she held her own. Like I was so happy and proud. And you know what was even you know, she actually received the blessings of both Holly Berry, Michelle Pfeiffer. They actually sent her a message telling her how much of a great job that she actually did in the film. I thought that was amazing. Like that was like, yeah, it's like they're passing the torch, and her iteration was so believable. I loved it. Like I
No,
literally
it's
loved
great.
it.
By the way, that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You
To
know,
show support.
and
Solidarity.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, man. You know, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't cost any money to say you like something, to tell a creator,
Yeah.
but only when they deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because it also doesn't cost any money to trash a creator. I take no pleasure in that. I don't like watching things that I feel bad about, and I don't. I take no pleasure in. I mean, I guess my job is to be a critic, but I want to love everything. But
Yeah.
man, what I don't like is we have so many creators that don't love what they're creating, and it becomes difficult.
True.
It's a difficult thing. The great Jeremiah Bailey, who is a big, he's been on this channel a lot. He
Yes.
actually has a really interesting question here.
Oh.
He sends in a super chat. Jeremiah says, and by the way, this is something I grapple with a lot. Here's his question. What is the line between copy and inspired homage? Reservoir Dogs versus City on Fire, Joker versus King of Comedy, Batman versus Fincher, Nolan, Snyder, now Matt Reeves. We keep going darker. The Robert Pattinson Wayne is a cipher. That's what he says. I mean, you know, it's a pretty great point he's trying to make. I mean, what is the difference between originality and homage? And I would say, well, first of all, fuck what I would say. Lael, what would you say? Do you think Jeremiah is right? Is Pattinson a cipher?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I know.
That's interesting. I think I okay. I'll say to a degree. I get it, but I don't know. Like that's interesting, bro. Like that's interesting.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah,
There are
like,
many different iterations of Batman.
yeah,
And
I
I think we all know that various iterations of Batman take different things from the mythology and mix them up in different ways.
I don't think he's. I actually know. You know, be quite honest. I don't think he is.
I don't think he's a cipher either.
I don't think he is, because I think what this iteration was, you're looking. Here's what separates him from everyone else, and all the other characters, is because, again, Matt Reeves took a risk at showing us Batman, at just basically pointing out and is the attention to just Batman as a character, less on Bruce Wayne. And I think it's because of the simple fact that he's focusing. Batman is the persona of everything that is dark, the angry version, the frustration of wanting justice, vengeance. and that's where he stuck. And I think that's where he needed to stick with this film. And I think that the Robert Pattinson's, he played it to a T. Like this, you didn't get what you got, more grit in this character than I have ever seen in any other interpretation. Because even though we saw the frustration and anger in Christian Bale, was it believable though? At times, sometimes it was, but the voice took me all out of it. It took me the whole way out of it. That voice when he was Batman took me out. Ben Affleck was the comic book. Okay, okay. Ben Affleck was the comic book version of the action comic book version that we wanted to see on screen, and that's what we got. We wanted to see the spectacle version of him, the character with the gadgets. We wanted to see that, the bulk. We wanted to actually see that version. With Christian Bale, we actually got the fusion of Bruce Wayne and Batman. We got a chance to see the billionaire playboy. We got a slither of vengeance, but more so like just that character who wanted the justice. Whereas in this story, you got a character who was, again, like riddled with just pain and suffering of losing his family, feeling basically that he is literally by himself, fulfilling basically, and that's why he even told, when he basically told, why did this slip my mind?
It's late. It's almost 3 in the morning.
The butler. I keep forgetting his name. Alfred. When he told Alfred that he is fulfilling his parents' legacy. That's the legacy that he wanted, was that vengeance, because he's avenging them, for wrongdoings, not knowing, the full story. But again, we're seeing the tormented version of Batman. And I think it had to be as dark as it was. It had that because basically he was a product, a very harsh product of his environment, and forced to be that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. But here's the thing. I mean, the character of Batman, depending on when you came to it, when I was a kid, Batman was the Batman live action series, which is goofy. Batgirl. There was a theme song, and it was crazy. So as a little kid, I never took Batman seriously until I was reading the Denny O'Neil and why my mind has eluded me. The Batman comics of the 70s that were written by Denny O'Neil and drawn by Neil Adams. Neil Adams. I mean, those comics were, to me, the definitive Batman. When I was a kid, the gothic horror, the oh my God, the Neil Adams, Denny O'Neil Batmans, in my mind, that's the definitive Batman.
Yeah.
I've never seen that on screen, the way I've thought about it. But, the new films, what we're getting now is an amalgamation and an interpretation, and I loved it. I mean, I love this, and I would ask, I got to ask you, at this point, Jeremiah Bailey says that Bruce Wayne, Pattinson, is a cipher. Do you think Robert Pattinson's Batman or Bruce Wayne is a cipher?
It froze.
Oh man, she's frozen. Uh-oh. Hang on. Maybe I'll just have to bring her back. Hang on. I'm sure she will come back.
Now, while you're doing that, Rob, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What if in this next Flash film?
Oh, God damn it. Sorry, hang on. Okay, you guys, I think, wait, Hold on. What the hell? Oh my God. It's all live and crazy. Oh, Lael, you're here, right?
I'm still here.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I am right here with you.
Yeah, so what you had just said was you were talking about a live action Flash. What were you just saying?
I said, what if we actually got in the Flash film? What if we got a live action version, a deep fake live action version of the Adam West from the 60s, 70s?
Okay. That's
What if we got it?
okay.
What if we got that iteration of it? What if they brought him in, somehow? What would you
Okay.
do?
I have a very long philosophical answer to this question, and it
Gotcha.
goes back
Let's
to the
go.
Mandalorian.
Mhm.
So, in my mind, one of the great things about our pop culture is that we've had some of our great heroes. My greatest fictional hero is Captain James T. Kirk.
Mhm.
And in our lives, we actually have from 1966 to 1994. Oh, hang on.
Mhm.
Let me bring. We have William Shatner playing that same character.
Mhm.
So in our pop culture,
Mhm.
he lived and died within that. Like we saw him,
Yeah.
which was, amazing. And so we understand what it's like to watch a pop culture character. And by the way, in universe, age from 34 to 70, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, my God, I love that,
Yeah.
So that said, hang on, let me just put into the party and bring her back. So she, hang on, I'm putting you in, coach. Okay, but before here, let's bring back. So Lael, one more time, hit me with your question one more time.
So my question was, what would you do if we saw a live action version, or basically they brought Adam West
Right.
into the Flash
Okay.
film, deep faked?
So here's the point that I was making was we've seen Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. We've seen William Shatner in Generations. We respond to human beings. Like and this is a weird here's my Burnett axiom. I've said never put your universe before your characters in your story. But I haven't refined this Burnett axiom. Audiences will never accept artificial recreations of characters. Luke Skywalker, it will never work unless there's a little bit of Mark Hamill in him. You cannot just make Luke Skywalker show up as a deep fake and have an AI simulate his voice.
You have
It
to have
will
the person's
never,
voice.
ever work. If there is no connection to Mark Hamill, none, you should never do. And this should be canon. Do not, because we as an audience, we will never accept it. If you want to tell some fucking story about Luke Skywalker, great. But unless Mark Hamill, now you've extended the lifespan via deepfakes.
Yeah.
But you know what? No one loved his appearance in the Book of Boba Fett as much as they loved seeing him show up at the end of Mandalorian season 2. And ask yourself, what's the difference? The difference is that Mark Hamill at least contributed to the creation of Luke. We don't want to watch computer recreations of people. We don't. We want authenticity in some way, shape, or form. And by the way, we can smell it. We can smell it. Everyone's like, well, Luke's voice was a little off. We all knew it from the get.
Yeah.
And then they had to, cinema blend does it was done by AI. Okay, look, I know it's a weird thing. If you want to have Luke Skywalker in a story, understand he's old and not where you're at. I don't want to see on film a Luke Skywalker story where you've recreated Luke and given me an AI voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see that. And what's so weird is, like, why wouldn't you want to see it? Well, as the viceroy of verisimilitude, I would say there has to be some kind of shred of reality in what you're doing. And if it's not there, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm watching an artificial Luke like we saw in Boba Fett, it's not Luke. It's fake. And the fact is, what it also means is you're trying to throw us a storyline that is inherently disingenuous. You're trying to tell us that, well, here's a story about Luke because we love Luke and we're going to recreate him. No, we're all human beings. We want to watch other human beings recreate stories in movies. We don't want to see Luke Skywalker. We want to see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. And now people don't get that. They do not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot digitally recreate a dead character and have everyone like, oh my God, there's Luke again. It's not Luke.
Yeah.
The only Luke that exists is Mark Hamill. You can deep fake him over his own face, but if he's not wielding the lightsaber, if he's not really there, it's not Luke Skywalker. And you know what? That means those characters have a shelf life, and smart creators and smart IP holders better understand that, because if you don't get it, you will lose your fan base, which they are. Every Warner Brothers, Disney, they're all fucking up.
It is hard to hear fans say that they're giving up on Star Wars because of films and TV shows. It is very hard to hear that, but the level of frustration is so high that they just don't know how else to react to it.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, isn't it frustrating when you love something? Like, I love Star Trek, you love your own things. And these things that we love have been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that somebody would create part of our franchise that isn't good is kind of strange. And we're like, we all look at it and go, wait a minute. I've loved this franchise for literally 50 years.
Yes.
And suddenly the people who are in control of it are terrible writers. They're terrible recreations of the franchise. It's like, you have 50 years of all the TV shows ever made. Star Trek has more reference material, more amazing background stuff. It's all there for you. It's all written.
Mm-hmm.
None of them ever read any of it. Because they're like, no, this is our Star Trek, not someone else's. And I'm like, okay, that thinking, the reason Star Trek exists, the reason Star Trek still exists is because in 1972, a bunch of crazy fans that never existed before threw a convention in New York. So when I bitch and moan and complain about Star Trek, I'm like, the only reason Star Trek still exists 56 years later, is because of us. Us crazy Trek fans. And the fact that they make bad Star Trek. There are people that could do a better job. Just saying.
Incredibly disappointing. And I did want to ask you, Robert, because we're nearing the 3-hour mark. How many more super chats do we have tonight?
Oh my God. I have no idea, but a lot. Tell you what.
Okay.
You guys can I understand. It's 3 hours. I will stay here until I do all the super chats. But we still stay for 15 more minutes. How about that?
Yes, I just wanted to get an idea of where we were, because there were actually some very generous, like $50 super chats that were done, and I can't remember who sent them, but
Well, let's
like
you know what? I never want to define people by their, but why not? Since we're here, Ron C. sent in a very generous super chat and says, "Hello, Rob, Lael, and the lovely.
How you doing?
I watched the Batman again with my daughter. When we walked into a theater, we both thought we were in the wrong theater. I have not seen many women at a Batman film. I felt as if I was at a Bon Jovi concert." Well, Ron C., okay, I would ask the two of you. Okay, so there's a lot of girls at the Batman screening. How do you guys feel about R. Pats or Pattinson? How do you guys feel about Robert Pattinson as Batman?
I love him as Batman. I love him in Twilight. I love him in everything he does. I think he's incredible. I love him.
Yeah, I think again, I love his interpretation, and I think that there's only great things I can expect out of him. We're going to see him again. We'll definitely see him again as Batman, and I hope he's prepared for it. But I mean, I love his iteration. Yeah, I mean, his interpretation was something that we needed. We needed basically the Detective Bats. We needed the conflict, and we also needed that human. We needed the humanized version of this character, to bring him back down to our levels, to make us feel that we're connected to him. And I love that. I love that aspect because if you look at it, they didn't touch on the billionaire aspect of this character in his film
At all.
And I love that aspect of it because it made him human. You know what I mean? They didn't touch on that.
You got the
all.
idea. He was a scion of the Wayne fortune. He lived in the house, but he was in the grime, building his car, doing his shit.
Yeah. And I hope, and to be quite honest, like, as much as people might disagree, and that's fine, I don't care if we don't see it. If we never see that version of Bruce Wayne, that we actually see just that Bruce Wayne who is more focused in on, making sure that, crime isn't taking over his city. You know what I mean? And, and being there. I mean, I hope we see that character. I hope we continue to see, because here's the thing: it's dissecting the character and breaking it down. So I hope we see it.
So I think that's why there were more women. This is just my theory. There's absolutely no scientific or polling basis behind this. Robert Pattinson was the Batman, so every woman who loves Robert Pattinson is going to watch this film. You got the female gaze.
Yeah, well, and by the way, it's funny because I think that's okay. I mean, I don't want to live in a society where the male gaze has already been criminalized.
Yeah.
But no one asked women if they wanted us to not look at them. And I would say they do. They still do, because in our society, I hate to say it, it's not about the patriarchy. It's about biology. Men and women like to get together. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be like, "Oh, well, Rob Burnett's a turf." Men and women. No. I'm like, look, I don't care. I don't care. I love all people, whether whatever shape, size, color, creed, gender, sexual, however you identify.
But we also,
you're welcome here. You're welcome to the PGS. But just so you know, just so y'all know, I mean, we all like to get up to fucking. At the end of the day, I mean, whoever you are, whoever you like, somebody actually, a friend of mine, I won't say who, sent me for Christmas this past year. It's actually in my bathroom. sent me a magnet, like a fridge magnet, with superheroes on it, and there's a thought bubble that says something to the effect of, "There's nothing that can't be solved with somebody putting their tongue on your genitals." That's what I'm telling you.
True.
I have this,
But
and I'm like, I agree with that. Yes, I do agree. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, well then, do we have to have a contract? Do you want to do that? And I'm thinking, man, making out in college these days should be, it's got to be tough.
But honestly, Robert, we also, I know as a woman, I want to see Patterson have a hookup with someone. So, that's the other part, is that I need to see that in a film if he's going to have a romantic
Okay,
interest.
but let me ask you this: why do you need to see that? What is it about Robert
Oh,
Pattinson
Rob,
having a relationship? Why is that important to you? And by the way, this is not an accusation. I'm just curious.
it just feels like, I need to have that fulfillment of seeing him with someone intimately. I don't know why. It just feels really good to see it.
Well,
And
because I would say it adds to the reality of it. I mean, I agree with you. I think that one of the real tragedies of the modern age is all of these superhero movies are very chaste. And I would think that people who are of the ultimate physical specimens, and they would be clawing at each other and enjoying the sensual pleasures of knowing people that are the most powerful human beings in the universe.
Well, that's why I like The Watchmen so much, because there were no inhibitions in that film.
No, and in the comic either. Lael, I mean, I would ask this, like, the ratings issues are tough, whatever, but I mean, for me, look, I understand where Mmmm is coming from, but this is like a day in the life. It's not even a fully realized reflection of who Batman is. And as much as him getting busy with Zoe Kravitz, that's great. I'd love to watch that. But was it appropriate for the movie?
I like the mystery. Me myself, I just like the mystery. I'm kind of indifferent with it because I don't need to see, that level of sexuality fleshed out in the film. I like the mystery behind it. I love to see that it's implied that there's that chemistry and we know that that's what he wants. But I don't like, the reason why is because I don't want it to take away from the story that is presented. But I also want that mystery because we already know that, again, the storyline between both, Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, it goes a long way to the point now that even in the books, they actually have a child. Like they literally have a child together, and we know that's where it's headed. But I think that I want to see, because the thing is, I want to see both characters developed fully first before that really happens. But I want to see that connection between them always explored, to whereas they can't, it's like that attraction, like they can't be without each other, around each other, but it's one of those things where it doesn't take away from the narrative. You know what I mean? Like if it makes sense, you know what I mean?
It makes sense. And I agree with you, Lael.
It's just like, I just want to feel, because we know that there's a connection between the two, and we know there's a love interest there. We know that he's developing that, and right here he's exploring it, but also it's a conflict within, with him, because he's like, I'm dealing with someone who is, she's a criminal. Right. Literally she's an actual criminal. So if I stand for one thing and she stands for another, there is a conflict between the both of them, and how that would be perceived on screen, and people knowing, or finding out that she is this person, you know what I mean? And his connection, that's when it could change things. But again, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that the way they're handling it right now, because we could have seen that in this film, but we didn't, because it was focused on that narrative, and where the journey was going with Bruce. We needed to focus on Bruce or Batman's journey, and the end game for him was making, or we see the transition from being that feared, angry, intense individual to now knowing that his purpose is to serve the people and to make sure that they are okay. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we know that she's there and she's there for him. She feels something for him, but their paths had to actually be separated right now temporarily. But we already know she'll be back in Gotham. We already know that. That's the
I
story.
agree with you, Lael, and
Yeah.
and you're right. Even let's say if she didn't want to commit murder
Yeah.
in this film, and let's say maybe she was going to do something less heinous, Wayne was still not ready for a relationship.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right about that, and we'll see a relationship hopefully with them in the future. But it's something
going
that
to blossom
I'm hoping now, and it's going to draw me back to the next film, and I'm sure it's going to draw a lot of women.
Oh yeah, it's
back
going to
to
happen.
And
It's going to happen.
one of the members is saying, the member's name is DGMC, says Avengers 5 orgy goers assemble. And there's Robert, there is a member chat for NNTZ Z.
Yeah.
I don't know where you saw it, but I don't know whether you see the member chats the same way.
No, I can't.
But
I'm just not. But yes.
It says RTNZ member 2 months reckon they're waiting for Ford to die before they put out Indiana Jones 5 so that he doesn't die from shame.
Oh, come on. You know what? Come on. Look. James Mangold is directing Indy 5. He co-wrote it. I hope it's good. Like, don't we all want the new Indiana Jones movie to be good? Wouldn't it be great if it was?
It would be great if it was good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And by the way,
And Darren Seeley says, I'm sorry, Robert. Darren Seeley says, I love the female gaze too, but sometimes it depends on what they are gazing at.
wow,
Darren.
I would say, Darren, women have to worry about what we're gazing at every moment of their lives. I just bring on. I mean, I understand. Andy Garcia said in the movie Black Rain, 1989's Ridley Scott Black Rain, has a very interesting philosophy about what women love. He says, women of the 80s are looking at our shoes. It's the second place they're looking. In 2022, nothing's changed. You better have good shoes because that's the second place they're looking. All I'm going to say. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. And what's actually changed dramatically is the fact that men are bold enough to send you photographs of themselves. It's a little different kind of world now.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Here's the thing. I've always looked at it like you can send someone a picture of your sword. That has nothing to do with whether you can wield it or not.
That is very true. But I'm just saying compared to the 80s where you would never have seen that. That would
of course not.
too.
But the problem is we live in a world where
somebody take a picture and send you a Polaroid.
Right.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
in the mail.
In the mail, bro. That's crazy.
I mean, look, man.
Imagine that. Wow, man, that's crazy.
Here's what I find. So, to me, a great example of what's wrong with the modern age, and someone sends you a picture of a giant tunnel digging, amazing. Oh my God! Look at that. But that's that's like looking at a Formula One car. A beautiful car. But unless that car has a driver that is very skilled and understands how Formula One works, what good is all of that equipment?
Mm-hmm.
Well, most certainly, experience does matter. And, that is something that we have no choice to look at men to see them because we are constantly looking at men. So it's not, it's no offense to a man. I mean, I don't know whether men are aware that we are looking at them as much as we do. I think that they probably are unaware that we are.
Yeah, but
we are looking.
Let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
Like for men, we see naked ladies. We're done. You know, we're finished. It's all great. But aesthetically, you know, physically, men, you know, our upper chests, our torsos, our arms, our guns, whatever, we look good. Our legs, but our sexual characteristics are kind of obtrusive. We got these hanging things that are not exactly symmetrical or whatever. And as a woman, I've had as a genre fan, give us some insight right now. When you look at a man, you bring the female gaze onto somebody that you want to be a lover, a friend, whatever. What is it? What is it you look at first? What is it? What attracts you? What makes you want to talk to somebody?
You know, that is a very interesting question, and I think it's different for each person. Let's say that I would be interested in, but what I can say is that you know, ultimately you want someone who's going to treat you well, and that's the most important thing. How you're treated by the person. So none of the physical appearance really matters if the person is a jerk.
Hmm.
You know, in fact, it's a complete turnoff. You know, if the person is um, just you know, the most incredible looking person, and then their personality is garbage, you've completely lost interest. You know, it doesn't really matter. So inevitably, really,
And they're
looks are
not going to
not.
be good physically, so they're going to be like they don't have skills.
I mean, about the only thing that I can say, and I said it earlier tonight, is that I have to reevaluate, you know, the ages of men now, because from seeing what Michael Keaton can do and seeing what Patrick Stewart can do, I think that these older men have been getting kind of like a bad rap in what they're physically capable of doing. I mean, of course I wouldn't know,
I'm
but
just
you
saying.
know,
I mean,
mother about it and kind of ask her some questions because this kind of completely changes a lot. I think the my perception, you know, maybe it's even ageism in Hollywood. Um, but yeah, I just have to kind of reset the parameters of a lot of these men there, and it's something for me to think about. But I just want to say, Robert, are there any more super chats?
oh, there's so many. There's so many. We are so yes. There are many super chats, and we're going through them.
Okay.
But I have to ask Lael. I asked the question. Like, for me, I'm old. Like I'm like an old fucker, you know. And I, um, even though my interests remain youthful, but there's a lot of people that look down on me for various reasons because they're like, aren't you, get more mature than you are? I'm like, whatever, dude. You know, I'm having fun. So what I would look at you and I would say, like, okay, you and I, we've liked the things we've liked for our entire lives. Like, I was watching sci-fi theater and Star Trek at 5 years old, Twilight Zone, whatever. I didn't just decide like, well, I'm 38 years old and my life didn't work out to what it meant. I'm going to become a science fiction fan and go to Comic-Con. You can't do that. I mean, we're being a modern geek is a lifelong avocation. I mean, it's something we. So asking you this now, you, my friend, you're a lifer. You're a lifer in this. And at the end of the day, how do you think being a fan of science fiction, fantasy, and horror, being an imagination connoisseur, and you're a father, you're going to be another husband, but how do you feel being an imagination connoisseur has helped us or helped you in your life? Or has it not?
Oh man,
Do you
it's
think
so
that being a genre fan and loving hot toys and loving all of this and everything, has it made you a better person? Has it made you a friend? What's happened?
yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Oh, I mean, for years, one of the biggest things is, and I know I can't just speak for myself, but I know there's a lot of people out there that felt the same way, that you had to, in this day and age, and you know, pretty much for a while, growing up, you had to hide who you really were.
Mm.
Like you had to hide. It's like a secret identity, like who I am out in public. You know, why is it a surprise to you that when you come to my house or when I go to the movie theaters and you see me watching certain films, if you see me, you know, collecting certain things and going to the comic, why is that basically a surprise? And I equate that to just being around a whole bunch of people who did carry on certain personas to hide who they really were. I've always been this way. And I think the reason why, you know, Toya loves me as much as she does is because I am unapologetic about my love for genre, my love for science fiction, my love
Well,
for
hang on. Can I
collecting.
stop you there?
Yeah.
Can I ask you if I think Latoya loves you because of your passion?
Mm-hmm.
You might have been, if you were passionate about
Mm-hmm.
crab fishing, or
Mhm.
or do you think I honestly believe that what she saw in you was true passion, not just for
Mhm.
figures, for imagination or whatever, but you could have been passionate about anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that women are looking for that. They're looking,
Mhm.
and men, I mean, our entire community,
Mhm.
Lael, myself, I mean, we are passionate about the results of imagination.
Mhm.
You know, somebody can create something, conjure it out of thin air, and if it's well developed or something, we're in on that. A
Yeah.
lot of people,
Definitely.
especially women, are pragmatists. They're like, that's great, your heads are in the clouds and you love all these things, but we owe $3,165 in rent. Are you gonna have it? And that's not a bad thing to ask. But at
Not at
the end
all.
of the day, I mean, passion, I mean, it's so great. And I feel the same way like you. And when we're passionate about something, anything,
Mhm.
because so many people aren't, it's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Even if we're passionate about things that don't exist.
Well,
That's when it
actually,
gets
that's
really weird.
this. They're just elements that exist in a different plane. So it's not that they aren't real. They may not be real individuals, but as characters in a book or in a story, they are. So yeah, that's how I put it. But Robert, can we
Yes.
please get back for chats? If maybe we
Dave,
can possibly.
yes, and if you guys have to go, please tell me so. David Crabtree says, The Batman is the first live-action Batman film since the 1966 Batman film to have the Big Four.
Mhm.
All appear in the same movie. The Riddler, the Catwoman, Penguin, and, spoiler alert, the Joker.
Mhm.
United Underworld Assemble. That's David pointing that out. He didn't ask the question, but he's right. Interesting. What do you guys think? How'd you guys feel about the Joker?
And this film?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really see him. I mean, you could say that it could be anybody who just wants a friend. We all know what's going on, but what do you guys think?
We know what's implied. We know basically what was implied. I think I can't really comment on it right now because I have to wait and see, you know, where they
Yeah.
go with it.
Me
Where they're going
too.
to take this character next. Because again, you know, all we heard was a small dissertation, and you know, a laugh, you know, them sharing a laugh between each other and stuff like that. So I don't know how to feel about it yet. Because I was so focused on all the other characters and, you know,
I
even the
know.
Riddler himself. So, I mean, again, knowing that it was necessary for them to make it a part of the narrative, I tried to keep myself from really thinking about it and just focus on the characters that we see on screen
Yeah.
right now. And just let that play out on the next, you know, film. So I really don't know how to feel about it yet because, you know,
I'm with you.
we
I
haven't
don't
really
either.
gotten too much. Yeah. So
I agree. I also I have mixed feelings about it. Let's see where they take it. As I was telling Lael, I hope that we don't even see him and that he's just in that cell and is able to control things while in prison, like what we see now in a lot of stories where people are behind bars and they still have a heavy influence over what
Yep.
goes on the outside.
yeah. Yeah.
Magic K says,
Hi.
Martha is part of the Arkham family, and that came from Batman Earth 1, written by Jeff Johns. Whether you like him personally or not, Matt Reeves likes those settings he wrote and put them in the film. Well, look, I didn't realize that, but I've liked what Jeff Johns has done with the various year one storylines. I mean, I think it's great. I love that they're mining the comic stories. I think that's awesome. What do you guys think?
I love it. I mean, I love that's basically what we're getting, and that they, again, if you can, really, pay respects to the source material and bring that realization in some form to a film in live action, I mean, then, you're all right with me. I'm with you. I'll ride with you. But if you basically do what you did with, like, again, one of the things that took me out of Captain Marvel was the simple fact that we know who Marvel is.
Yeah.
And Marvel is a very important character. And their decision to make Marvel Annette Bening, I think it was a mistake.
It was. They didn't. That was. I mean, I liked Captain Marvel as a film. I did. Yeah. But as a Marvel, I was like, you guys missed the boat on so many things.
It was a missed opportunity to give us a great Marvel. And that's not, man. I mean, and the thing is, that whole film, I'm sorry to say it, and people may disagree, but that whole film was an agenda. And we know it.
I know.
It was agenda.
Well, it's also backfired on them. Like, even Brie Larson was not
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking away from Brie Larson, because I like her as a person.
Yeah, I do
and
too.
As a character, but I just think that, again, there was a lot that kind of backfired, and they didn't tone it down, and they made it completely evident. And that's what kind of took people out of it. You know what I mean? Because if it's authentic, if it's clearly authentic, then we can accept it. But when it's forced, that's when it's just like, nah, don't do that.
Well, even Kevin Feige was saying in interviews, in 2016, this is the new anchor of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Even look, I'm a Kevin Feige acolyte. I love him. I'm a big fan, but when he does stupid shit, it's like, I always go like, wait, bro.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, do you really think, I by the way, I liked Captain Marvel, but I was like, that's lower tier Marvel. Everyone knows it. And do you really think, I mean, you introduce a bunch of stuff in that, and Nick Fury on a virtual beach with the Skrulls and all this. It's like, come on, you've jumped further than you should. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, they did. It was so many missed opportunities in that film. You know what I mean? That I just thought, it again. I thought, and it was, and the thing is, I was extremely hyped about seeing it. I was so hyped about seeing Captain Marvel. Couldn't wait. But the route that they took, I was like, in the end, I'm like, really? Did you just do that? And then you literally destroyed everything that we know about Nick Fury and how he lost his eye. You give us that, and you think it's okay? Nah, son. I wasn't buying that. And when that happened, I literally was so tempted to walk out the theater, but I was like, let me just finish this out. Let me finish it out.
Okay. Riley Rayburn says,
hey, Riley.
The Batman is my opinion. The Superman Returns of Batman.
Interesting.
Well, as somebody who was on the set of Superman Returns every day for a year, I would say not entirely. I mean, I know where you're going, but I think you need to drill down further into the motivations of Bruce Wayne and his family. I mean, and by the way, Superman Returns was compromised from what was originally shot, so. But I do like the comment. I think that, the thing about Superman Returns is like I said about Bruce Wayne in Batman, the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
They're both aliens. They're both completely detached from humanity, and they are both looking for comfort. They want emotion because they're so omnipotent or whatever. Yes, of course, Batman is not as powerful, but you know what I mean? I mean, these are two characters that are looking for the same things, which is a connection to humanity. And in Superman Returns, Superman's been gone and Lois has moved on, and in Superman's mind it's like, I'm Superman, why have you moved on? Well, because you were gone, motherfucker, for 5 years. I'm not waiting. And in Batman, he loves these characters. He loves people in the whether they're women or people like Alfred. I mean, there's characters that can't love. They don't know how to.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we're watching. It's amazing. I think it's really, really good.
Robert, Riley Rayburn, who had a super chat, says, tell Rob that I meant this question as a positive, not a negative. I love the longevity of it, the uniqueness and the individualness of them, Superman Returns and the Batman.
Well, I thank you so much for that. But I think, Riley, what you're saying is a very interesting way to look at the superheroic nature of humanity.
Yeah.
It's a great question, and I want to thank you for that. It's really good. So following up on that, MCP Scotty, of course, our friend, says, I don't think Selena was bi. I read it as they were both hurt by Falcone, and Selena was helping a stray because it was a good thing to do. Okay, here's the thing. She called her baby a lot. I mean, it doesn't have to be overt, but I really do believe Selena and her, they hooked up. I mean, you don't listen to her performance as baby or whatever. The entirety of the Batman is them skirting around the issue of ratings. And I honestly believe, I mean, you guys might be wrong. And by the way, I love the fact that Catwoman is a person that dislikes people. Gay, straight, that's not in her worldview. She's just with people she loves or who love her. And yeah, but what do you guys think? Am I wrong?
But I think a person could argue that they weren't necessarily sure whether they had a full-on lesbian relationship or whether they were girlfriends. They could have just been sleeping together. I mean, it does happen. Women do sleep with other women and they don't really have a committed relationship. But it seemed like they were living together. That's the first thing. And, you can have roommates. And the other thing that I seem to observe is that they kissed each other a lot. However, that isn't always an indication as to whether someone is a...
I mean, in the movie, she's clearly seeking vengeance in my mind for her lover. I have no problem. I don't care. But the thing is, I mean, what's really interesting is we live in a world where we see progressivism as being putting up a fence. In reality, what we should really be thinking about is if you want to have all kinds of freedom of sexuality, get rid of the labels. And yet are the modern people are basing all of their battles on labels. It's like anyone who has a real understanding of human sexuality understands that we live in a realm, a spectrum. There is no one's like, well, I'm only going to have sex at 5:11 at night during the summer solstice when the light's hitting me right here, and we're going to do that then.
Yeah, that's why I like that movie Threesome so much, because they didn't ask you to define whether someone was a specific type of category. All it really was about was...
Can I just say, you're the only person who's brought up that film. I love that movie so much. It's so good, but please continue. I just love that you know it and pontificate about it eloquently. Thank you so much.
what I liked about it was that you didn't have to go ahead and put a label on it. I mean, you just happen to fall in love with somebody, and you can fall in love with somebody whether they are gay or straight. You can fall in love with that person. They may not reciprocate your love back, but it's not going to stop you from falling in love with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree, and I think one of the real problems of all this is like the idea of dressing up as a bat and getting the shit kicked out of you. There's a fetishistic thing about that. You know, you have to realize it and be like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want something or whatever, but
well, I have to ask both of you this other question about Patterson's Batman is that is he even aware of everything that he's capable of doing yet? You know, he seems to kind of like at the point of discovering what his potential is. What do you both think?
Well, I defer to you. I have very strong opinions about this, but please answer, sir.
I mean, I think he's aware of what he can do, but I think he's reckless right now.
Yeah.
I think that's I'll just tether down to that. He's reckless. He's aware of what he's capable of, but it's not refined yet. You know what I mean? It's not basically one of those things where he goes in, the way he's actually going in it right now is without, the tactical version that we know. It's without the tactics.
Yeah.
What we seen was a version of him just, the fury, the rage without tactics. We know basically, like I said, again, he's a born contingency. He has contingencies beyond contingencies.
Yeah.
But in this version, basically, we're not seeing that yet. We're just seeing someone who's just going in gun ho, with not even a respect for his own, physical health at this point. So it's just going to take more time. So I think that right now he's capable. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows he's a walking weapon. But I just don't think that he's still kind of young with it, and it's really reckless. So
I love that analysis. What do you think?
Well, I did ask, the question, but yes, as I said before, at least in my opinion, he's still discovering a lot of things. Like, for example,
Okay.
and I know
No, go ahead.
when he gave himself that dose, which I didn't even know he could do, as I mentioned before. But, I guess he woke up and realized that he was on the floor. And, it's like when you're on the floor on your back, that's, it's a very compromising position to be in. But he managed to boost himself up to get up. I thought he was out for the count. I thought he was unconscious. I didn't think he could get up again. And so I almost thought for a second, did he forget that he could give himself this dose? Perhaps not. But I think it's very interesting to see the reaction times. And as you said, Lael, there is a certain sense of recklessness that he has in what he's doing. And in my point of view, I'm looking at it like, does he know his own strength? Perhaps he does know his own strength, but I'm not quite sure whether at the heat of the moment, he's necessarily considering all his options.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. I mean, so here's what
Do we have more?
Well, yeah, we have
Robert?
so many super chats, so many,
Okay.
and we'll never get through these. But
Don't say that.
no, we will not stop. We will not stop. But so
Okay.
I'm looking at all this. I think Magic K is next. Martha is a part of the Arkham family and came from Batman Earth 1. Whether you like him personally or not, do you think that the setting that Martha existed, should Martha as she existed in Earth 1 be in this film?
I don't know.
I think it's an interesting take. I think it's spicing it up. I've loved knowing that she's part of the Arkham family. And knowing that how, really, how really tortured that family is. just riddled with conflict and just a lot of dark history behind the Arkhams. Even like here's the thing, a lot of which does have ties to the Court of Owls.
Well,
So
I mean, look,
yeah,
you've asked the question, multiple times or whatever. I'm thinking that, like, I agree with you. Like, look, we all know that Batman's parents were killed. That's their deaths was anything other than they were murdered.
yeah,
It's cool. I mean, I think
yeah,
it's interesting and it's just fascinating. The real question is, what are you going to do with that storyline?
yeah, true.
Tell me something new. Tell me something great.
Yeah.
Peruvian Heat says, in the beginning of the movie, in the subway, in the thugs scene, the thug that had his face painted in half, and which I
From the
loved,
Titans.
and didn't want to do any harm. Do you guys get the feeling that he could have been Robin in the future?
If you actually didn't know that character is from Titans,
Yeah.
that's the same guy who will be Robin, in the Titans. So yeah, why they did it this way is interesting.
I mean, but the fact that what's interesting is they did make the connection, whether you believed in it or not. They flat out did it on purpose.
Yeah, they did.
Now,
So,
Lael,
how do you feel about So-So Toys?
Lael,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have been watching Titans, Lael,
Yeah.
and I think I know the character you're referring to.
Mhm.
He's the one, and correct me if I'm wrong. He's the one who stayed behind, and his parents kind of left the city
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he seems like a really sweet kid. And he's also the one who's been observing the Titans, and he went up to
Yeah.
Nightwing and said that I know who you are and all that
Mhm.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
He
I
knows
did
them
not
all.
know that was him, Lael. I only just found out right now.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
him.
That was him.
Yeah, that was him.
That is
Definitely, that was him.
fantastic. I love this. This is getting even better.
Yeah, that was him. Now, how
Well-
if they choose to tie that in with the Titans, I don't know. I don't think they will, but who knows? Who knows? And who knows? Because he didn't. Again, very little lines, but I think the focus was on him for a particular reason. So
And
Well-
he also the one who he did hesitate and he was very scared and he ran away. But why was he with that group? Do we know? He was being pushed.
yeah,
They wanted him to do something in the beginning of the scene. I just remember now, and he was very hesitant. He did not want to do
They
anything.
wanted
illegal.
him to beat up a guy.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
To
Now
like
I remember.
be like jumped into the gang.
And
Like,
I think I kind of felt like there was a possibility that he could have been an orphan. It just felt that way.
Oh,
that
yeah.
he could have possibly been an orphan
Okay.
that just got adopted into that world and into that group. Just the sense of belonging. Considering the simple fact that
I don't think you're wrong. I think
yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. And
Yeah.
the idea that only half his face is painted because he's not fully in the gang, and yeah,
which was
it's the same
implied.
thing.
Yeah, Matt, that the choice that Matt Reeves chose, he chose to do that for a particular reason, so we
Yep.
can see that he's halfway in, halfway out, still someone who's
I
confused.
love it. Prime Time 007 says he's Tim Drake in Titans.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prime Time 007 and Lael and Robert for letting me know, because I did not know that.
Yes, he is.
So that's even better. Now, wow, that's so cool. Okay, see what happens when we have these shows.
I know.
Mhm.
Darth Plato says, so is Batman an official agent of the police? Otherwise, how does the Batman work with the rule of the slate's monopoly on the use of the force? The law can never allow it. Calling a expert to consult with the police is one thing. Violence is something else. Well, I'd say Darth. it's not our world. It's a heightened extra reality. And you have to understand that in that world, here's what I loved about that. Whether you believe it or not, it might work for some people or not. Batman had to be vetted in this world. I mean, he needed people to vouch for him. Like, he couldn't just walk in and be like, I'm Batman. You know, the eventual Commissioner Gordon had to say, he's with me.
Yeah.
You know, and there was, I love that. I love the fact that he was never dressed as Bruce Wayne. He's always the Batman, and he'd wander into crime scenes with hundreds of dudes and just wander in and be like, what do I need to look at? And Jeffrey Wright was like, well, look at that. And he's like, I can tell you exactly who the murderer is and when it happened. It was great. I mean, I loved all that. So
Someone made a comment in the chat that says, and I hope I can find this, something about how many of the films, here it is, RRTNZ says, how many of the best received Batman films have Robin in them? He says 0, but didn't Batman Rises have Robin in it? Or
no.
Batman
Forever and Batman Begins, the Joel Schumacher films had Robin in them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Those two interpretations. We haven't seen an iteration of Robin in any of the newer films yet.
And by the way,
it's always an implication. They've implied it, but it's nothing that's been
I understand.
Yeah. And I don't know if they're doing it for, I mean, they're doing this basically for, and the thing is, you know what though? They have to play it safe because we live in a society where as a grown man teaching a kid how to kill.
Live in a society.
Yeah, like it's a tough space to live in, and you have to do it right. You know what I mean? So,
a society.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's where we're at right now.
No, but I think you're not wrong. I these. First of all, let me ask you both. We're now 3.5 hours in.
Yes,
we are.
Yes, we are.
I would say we haven't even scratched the surface of all of these super chats.
Yeah, I know.
In 2 days, I would say this.
Robert, what are we gonna do?
No, here's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna do Let's Get Physical Media tomorrow. For anyone who's sent in super chats to both of these streams, I'm gonna do one which just deals with the Batman tomorrow. Now, here's the thing. I will invite you both. You don't have to come on. You don't have to. But Lael and I are supposed to do a stream with Justin later tomorrow. But
yeah.
So what I'm going to do we have what I have to moderate. What am I moderating? I have to
take your position.
Oh, I know that, but I'm like, do I have to moderate? I'm worried about from an artistic point of view. What if my aesthetics are different than yours? What if I'm like, you are not trying hard enough? You need to push your Hot Toys figures further.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. All you have to do basically is you're marveling at the wonder of the pieces that we actually put together, like
I will.
And at the same time, like just the narrative of what we're actually doing, and also you're just conversing with the chat.
Lael, don't think. Look, you're giving me an opportunity I get to be Judgy McJudgerson.
Exactly.
And judge you and make sure that I don't think you're pushing those joints far enough.
Exactly.
I cannot wait.
That's what you're going to be doing.
I can't wait. Well,
that's what you're doing.
So tomorrow I do Let's Get Physical Media at 11 o'clock, and at 12:30 I'm going to have breakfast or whatever, and then at 1:30 I get to judge people.
Yes, you do.
Which is
so Robert,
fun.
So you're saying, wait a minute, you said you wanted us to do what tomorrow?
Well, look, after this, in the afternoon, late afternoon, I've never, this is the biggest super chat. People are sending so much in, It's
Mhm.
amazing. I mean, obviously people are passionate about this.
We've got 230 people here, and thank you everybody in the chat for
Well, that's
that.
just right now. We've had more than that. We've had a lot of people tonight.
We did. We had
Yeah.
209, I think, was the height of the number. We're so
Amazing.
grateful.
Amazing. So amazing. So, but we're grateful for the super chats, and all these super chats deserve a direct answer.
Yes.
So after we do take your your posable, what is it called, Lael? Come on.
Take your position.
Yeah, it is take your position. Well, I
Mhm.
can't wait to I will feel like God on this show. But no, so after take your position, we'll do another show about this very same topic and continue on.
Okay.
If you want to come. If you don't. But for those of you who have sent in super chats, we will deal with them all. I mean, my God, we've done 7 hours.
Yeah.
7 hours on the Batman.
7 hours. Yeah.
And we still have many people who have sent amazing super chats in. So thank you. And we're going to get to them all and make them immortal. Make you immortal.
Yeah.
But we all have to go to
I'll
bed.
be there after later in the afternoon if you want. I can do that.
If you can't, you can't. I'll do it myself. And if not, it'll be fun. It'll be I'll do it, and I'll because why not? You guys are supporting the channel. But you know what? What I love about this is the dialogue. This movie, people want to talk about this goddamn movie.
Yes.
How great is
they
that?
do.
They want to share their fandom. They want to share their thoughts, whether
A
they
lot of
love it,
dialogue.
whether they hate it. Isn't it great?
It's definitely a lot of dialogue.
Great, but Robert, we have to make sure that we finish all those super chats tomorrow, Robert. We cannot end the stream until we finish them. Tomorrow, that's the goal.
Oh, I know. And we won't. We'll keep going. And we'll do it forever. Like, I can't, you guys, people keep coming in. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing. We will get through all of these super chats.
Around 6 p.m. Eastern, I guess. 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern, which would be 4 p.m. my time.
Okay.
But then, okay, we have to do Justin's show too.
Justin's show.
Yeah.
Well, what
That's
time
what I
is
was going to say.
That could be 4. I don't know. Is it 4?
Because his is at 7 o'clock my time.
Yeah, 4, which is 4 o'clock your time.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, wow.
Here's what
then that p.m. Tomorrow night, then.
Well, you know what? I think it's now for you guys. It's 3:30 in the morning.
3:37 in the morning.
It is.
Yes.
You, my dear, you have a show to do. You have your morning brunch.
I do, yeah. I can't stay any longer. I do have a morning show, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We will figure this out tomorrow. We have many super chats, and we appreciate it. And we are going to get to those, all of us, somehow.
Yes,
But,
yes, yes.
Lael, one more time. Where you at?
16 Scale Man YouTube channel, Instagram, and Twitter. You can see us tomorrow at 7 o'clock my time. Oh, no, 4:30 my time, 1:30 Rob's time. And yeah, take your position tomorrow. Comic book talk with friends on Monday. Say what on Wednesday. Then I don't know yet if we're going to have Uncivilized Council because Mario's going through a few things, but we'll see. And then we have Figure Flex Friday. So stay tuned for all of them. Yes.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, Positive Fandom, and also streaming on Twitch. One word, Positive Fandom. On Monday nights, you can find me streaming with Lorena Creole on Toxic Femininity at 8 p.m. Eastern. And on Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me on the 16 Scale Man.
Yes.
Streaming with Lael, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels.
I already got you booked for this Wednesday. So
you can also find me streaming with Lorena Creole on our Reacher series. We're reviewing the Reacher series, which is an Amazon Prime show. And on
Fridays in the afternoon, you can find me streaming with Midnight's Edge in the morning at 12 p.m. Eastern with Tom and Andre and Cameron Pasha. On Friday nights, you can usually find me on the Burnettwork, or sometimes even on Saturday nights with Lael and Robert. And on Sunday morning, Sunday,
Sunday,
11, you can join me for my Sunday brunch show, where we do all the parlay of what's going on in the fandom. Guys, come share your opinions, regardless of what they are. We want to hear them all tomorrow morning on Positive Fandom.
Heck yeah.
Well, I want to thank my cohorts. You guys are the best. It's so much fun. And by the way, everyone who's been here firing questions, thank you so much. My God, I've never seen the reaction to this movie is really astonishing. It really is.
Incredible.
And we're going to get back to that. Don't think we're not going to take time for your questions. My God, it's unbelievable. We will. I want to thank everyone for supporting the channel. I want to thank my moderators. I mean, my God, Tom Jr. Jackson, Darren Seeley. You're a moderator too. My God. I mean, Lord Toth. Lord Toth was here. The Lord Toth. By the way, I just like saying Lord Toth. I love saying it. I just do it. So, Lord Toth, I should say, Lord Toth, thank you for being a moderator. But I still want to say, like, Lord Toth. It's so good to say that.
Come hither.
Come hither, my God, my God, man. So thank everyone for being here. It was very nice to have you here. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
And
we will.
We'll be back everywhere. So thank you all. And I want to, like, my deepest, most, all my love, Lael Rockwell and
Yes.
the people that make Midnight Musings what it is. And if you haven't, look at this S-Beam's amazing graphic of all of us. Just gaze on it. Gaze on, aren't we comic characters of note? Because by God, don't we look good? I mean, I think this is a Marvel series from the 70s. Could have been the Invaders, the Defenders, call it what you want. My God. And on that note, kids, everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. Or if you're watching the show, listen to us, because we're great. Thank you very much.